I solemnly swear that I am up to no good.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 65 of Tales from Godric's Hollow. The number one Harry Potter podcast among giants, half-giants, giant runts, and all things giant. I am one of your hosts. I am the muggle of the show. I am Josh Brown. I am joined, as always, by the professor of mischief himself, Matt Sonnenberg. Hi, Matt.
Hi, Josh.
How are you?
I'm doing well. Especially since I think we're getting to that part of the book where things actually start happening and you're going to like it a little more.
Yeah, we're definitely at that point where all the lingering questions that have been kind of hovering over the story thus far are starting to be resolved one at a time. And that's a good thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. We're cruising. We're back to 2 chapters this week. For those possibly new to the show, this is a weird place to start. But we are doing chapters 29 and 30 of Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Last week we only did 1 chapter. We still managed to do quite a long episode on that 1 chapter. But we're back to 2 chapters this week, and it feels good because it does feel like we're in that final leg of the marathon. You know,
Yeah.
we're getting there. We're finding out some things. The intensity is starting to build up a little bit. That's not to say, folks, that these were perfect chapters by any stretch of the imagination. I still have some serious beef with both of these chapters, but overall, they were solid. They kept me entertained. They kept me smiling, which is refreshing because last week was such a downer. Yeah, these were good, solid, entertaining chapters for the most part.
It's good to hear.
It is. Last week was tough, but here we are. We got 2 very fascinating chapters to talk about. There might be just a little bit of humble bragging at one point during our discussion this evening. I can't imagine what it's going to be for, but we'll find that point and see what happens, I suppose.
Don't worry, I think we're all expecting it.
I'm just waiting for the emails to pour in, praising me with victory points and everything like that. So, you know, I don't ask for much other than appreciation of my skill to predict what JK is thinking. That's all. That's all I'm looking for, Matt.
Okay.
We do have tons of emails this week. Apparently you guys went email crazy, which is exciting. I'm looking forward to that. That will be, of course, at the end of the show. We have a very interesting and competitive Muggle poll to talk about. But first, instead of giving away something like we normally do, we have to right a wrong, if you will. Now, it's not our wrong that we're righting. Let me be crystal clear on that one. We didn't screw anything up. But we are taking the extra step to make sure that something is corrected in the universe and the balance is found, because it was just weird last week, Matt, when we're sitting there and we didn't have an email from Mel B, our headmistress, one of our headmistresses.
Yep.
We were sitting there thinking, it's going to come in by the end of the show. It's going to come in any second now.
It wouldn't be the first time that it's come in, right? Like during the email segment, even.
Yeah.
Like that we've gotten that email, but
I think there was one time she even tweeted us and told us to check the emails, and that was like as we were on the last email, and that's how close it was. Last week just didn't happen though. We missed an email from Mel B. Again, not our fault. Apparently, the email trolls out there decided that they were not going to allow the email past the High Inquisitor. It got denied. It didn't get to us. So Mel B sent it again with apologies attached and said, here's the email I meant to send. I'm so sorry. Because she's Mel B, because she's one of our headmistresses, and because it just felt so empty last week to not have it, we're going to start with Mel B's email from last week to kick off this show.
All right.
Unconventional, I know, but that's what we do here, Matt.
It is what we do. All right, Mel B from last week, kind of, says, "Hey, Matt and Josh. Due to a ridiculously busy day at work last week, I did not realize that my email did not send. Please accept a busy headmistress's humble apology and read this email next week."
Done.
Before I talk about Snape's worst memory, some of you may remember the Marauders take up 3 spots in my top 10 characters. I must pause and bow deeply to Fred and George Weasley in their mischief. They are truly a gift unto wizard kind, and they certainly use their supply of fireworks well. On top of that, the professors are so amazing with how they handle, or rather don't handle, the situation. After all, Umbridge is headmistress now, sullying the name of our high and noble office of headmistresses and headmasters, and she has told the professors only to do what is within their expertise, and fireworks have nothing to do with the subjects they teach. Josh, I too would love more Marauder stories. Unfortunately, Rowling has indicated that she will not be telling their stories any more than she has in the books and on Pottermore. To fanfiction and fan art, I must go. There's an amazing short fan film called Snape and the Marauders that will undoubtedly be shown to you after you finish reading. Now, on to Snape's worst memory and the rather uncomfortable and awkward feelings this reading brings on. As I say over and over again, 3 of the Marauders are in my top 10 favorite characters, and I really love them. Part of loving someone is understanding that they're still human and accepting the good and the bad. I think we can clearly say that the Marauders cared about one another very much, 3 of them becoming animagus illegally so they could look after Remus, and he would not be alone and suffering as a werewolf. When Sirius ran away from his crazy and likely abusive family, he was welcomed by James and his parents into their home. The 4 boys worked together to create the Marauders map, and as it is told, apparently had many great and fun adventures. All 4 Marauders were part of the original order. Sirius was willing to die for the Potters. He carried the guilt about their deaths with him for so many years, and loves Harry so completely because he's James's son. And we all know that Sirius will do whatever it takes to protect Harry. This is balanced against the clear fact that James and Sirius are bullies. Remus is a silent bystander who can't bring himself to tell off his friends, at least not in this scenario, whilst Peter, who isn't game enough to do any actual bullying, encourages James and Sirius. The moral question is, because the Marauders were bullies, are they inherently bad people? My answer, no. They were stupid, selfish, stuck-up little boys who did not really understand and did not care about the impact of their behavior. Though they thought it was funny to torment Snape because he was different to them, James and Sirius had decided that Snape's mere existence was an offense to them, and so they spent their time and energy bullying him. It's disgusting and horrid behavior, and just another reason Hogwarts needs anti-bullying policies, and monitoring of such situations by the staff. Despite their horrid behavior, the boys grew up into young adults who fought against Voldemort, except for Peter, who joined him. And once again, we come back to the Marauders not being inherently bad people. So the circle goes on. I accept them as completely flawed people who made bad decisions, but they loved and cared for one another so deeply. Also, remember that we have only heard about James from Sirius and Remus, his best friends, and Snape, the high school enemy, with the offhanded comments from other characters saying Harry looks like James. I don't think we're getting a full picture of him. Anyways, I could talk for hours about the Marauders, but I'll stop here.
Very well said. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it was definitely tough reading that chapter last week. I was never on the side of they were bad people, but it definitely made me look at them completely different.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what happened with Harry.
Yeah. It was very conflicted emotions I had, and I hope everybody kind of had about it the first time they discovered, you know, the dumb teenager phase that the Marauders were in, and hopefully it was a phase. You know, again, we're still we don't know the full story, the full scope of everything, but at this point, I mean, everybody else does. I don't. Sure. But yeah, it was tough, but yeah, we got through it. And I definitely left last week's reading hoping for more answers in what had just happened. And thankfully, we definitely got them in this upcoming chapter.
Yeah, I knew you would be happy. We always get to the end of these books, and it's like, okay, we're going to answer like 3 questions. Knock them off your list this week. Perfect. It's going to be a good week. It shuts me up for a while. Yeah. It's like, you've got answers.
Yeah.
You can't be so impatient anymore.
Yeah. Well, running out of time to be impatient, Matt. There's only like a handful of chapters left, so...
But like we said, not everything needs to wrap up nicely in a neat little package anymore.
I know, I just wanted to.
Books aren't self-contained.
I just like going into the next year with a clean slate and, free mind from the mental gymnastics that I do about everything else.
I understand.
Yeah. So thank you, Mel B. I'm sure we'll hear from her at the end of the show as well. Unless her email got lost in the mix once again.
It's okay. I assured her, like, she wrote into the room requirement just to double check. I'm like, don't worry, I got it. I got it this week.
We're good. Okay. We're good. Let's transition over to doing something fun. Which, I mean, let's be real. The entire show is pretty fun, but it doesn't get much better than giving free stuff away, Matt.
It's always a good part.
This week we are giving away that fantastic, beautiful, just gorgeous wall art. Unfortunately, it dons the Slytherin logo.
Hey, you say that sarcastically, but I love this thing.
Because you're half Slytherin, Matt.
Oh.
It speaks to your inner being. Look, if you want to paint over it, put your own logo on it, no one's going to fault you for it.
Have this nice canvas.
Yeah.
do with it what you want.
I mean, it's free, so why not,
That can be our prize for next week, a blank canvas.
Just a blank canvas?
Yeah. Use your imagination.
Sure. But then you have to send it back to me with some sort of Harry Potter-themed artwork approved by the professor to weed out potential spoilers and such. But, oh man, that'd be fun, actually. No, we're giving away this Slytherin wall art. We gave away a Gryffindor one many moons ago.
Yep.
This will be the second in the set. Matt does have all 4 of them.
I do.
So if you're waiting for your particular house, all you Ravenclaw and Hufflepuffs out there, they're coming up. I can't tell you when, but they're coming. For now, we're going the Slytherin route. I asked you guys to write in and tell me about your favorite classrooms that you had as a student, or if you're a teacher, like what's been your favorite classroom that you've personally created, what environments that you've designed for your students. It was in response to that teacher here in Oregon that decorated his entire room in Harry Potter themed for his students to begin the school year, and how cool that was. So I'm hoping we got some responses this week, Matt.
We did.
Did all the Slytherin come out of the woodwork and join in?
That was what I was wondering, if we were gonna, all the Slytherins would show themselves finally for this one. But I'm pretty sure not everybody here is a Slytherin.
Okay.
So
we threw the dark mark up there to see what happens. And here's everybody coming out of the woods. How many responses did we have this week, Matt?
This week we're looking at 8.
8 responses. Simple enough. There's 4 houses. Let's go with lucky number 4.
All right. Then the lucky winner is going to be Mary.
Mary, congratulations.
Mary Nunez.
Hey, Mary Nunez. Congrats. Hope you enjoy the Slytherin wall art. If you're not Slytherin, you have to let us know what you're going to do with it. That's bar none. That's a requirement of this prize. What's going to happen to the Slytherin wall art?
Did I ever mention a few weeks ago when we gave away the wand of your choice, did I tell you what they picked up?
You did not. No.
Okay. That one went to Christy, and she chose Hermione's wand.
Oh, cool. That's a nice looking wand.
I think you've actually seen it. Doesn't Val have that one?
Yeah, no, that's the one I picked up for her.
Yeah, so you've seen it.
The Death Eater wand was calling my name.
Yes.
Man, those tricky Death Eaters. They suckered me into that one, Matt.
They did.
So our winner this week, what was her response? What was her favorite classroom?
She says, my favorite classroom, which honestly took me a while to think about, is hands down one of my teachers that I had for my freshman, sophomore, and junior years of high school. Shout out to Mr. Perry, the best government, world studies, and American studies professor out there.
All right.
He never used his overhead lights because, first off, they were harsh fake light, and he had tons of windows, which meant tons of natural light. So he always knew. When there would be a substitute.
Because the lights were on.
I guess so. Yep.
That's awesome.
But he has world flags hung around the entire room, which you could get extra credit for knowing which was which country. And I thought it was such a neat idea. He also had some older maps hung as well, and an armchair which students could win the chance to sit in during class. I could go on and on about the good times in that class, but I'll leave it here.
Cool. I like that.
Yeah, I do.
That's a great way to learn flags.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Just the fact of having them there in the classroom, like, even if there wasn't for extra credit, that would have been me just trying to like memorize them all.
Yeah, because you'd see them every day.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like when the Olympics are going on, like I'll see the flag, I'm like, oh, I wish I knew what country that was.
Yeah, that's what I do during the opening ceremony of the Olympics, is go look them all up. It's like, okay.
Man, I thought that was Italy. Huh.
Yeah,
that's
didn't know that was a country. Okay.
Yeah, our dumb Americans, Matt. We don't know anything about.
There's a lot of countries out there.
There's a lot.
I mean, I know there's people who know all the countries and know all the flags, and I applaud them for that. But that is not an easy thing to memorize or learn.
But if it wasn't forced, if it was just like naturally absorbed through like the sitting in a class for an entire year or a semester,
exactly.
Like, that'd be so cool just to bring on that knowledge just like that. So cool. Well, congratulations. Let us know what you do with the Slytherin wall art, and thank you to everybody else that participated and wrote in, and let us know what your favorite classrooms are or were. The end of the show, we're going to have another giveaway. This one's going to be incredibly awesome, I promise. Really fun. I'm excited for this one. And we'll have a good way of giving it away as well. So stay tuned for that. Time for the meat and potatoes of the show, Matt.
Yeah.
It's time for Chapter 29 of Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix.
Chapter 29. Career advice.
My
no
first
new
thought,
characters for you.
No new characters. We don't even. There better not be a single new character for the rest of this book.
We have some in the next chapter.
That's true. Okay, I will give you that. Although the character's kind of been there for a while, we just didn't know about it.
We actually have two.
Okay. Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
There you go.
That kid doesn't count.
You might not know who I'm talking about then.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm sick of new characters where we have enough characters. I have plenty of characters that I want more time with that I'm not getting because all these new people are popping up. So let's cap this out here. You know, if they're gonna be new, just kill them off right away so we could just move on. As long as they're not like students at Hogwarts, I don't want to see that happen. But you know, people would definitely bring in some more Death Eaters and kill them off real quick. I'd be okay with that. Not that I'm condoning the killing of people here, Matt, but I'm just saying, you know. Chapter 29.
Chapter 29?
The title of this chapter threw me off right off the bat. I'm like, why are we talking about career advice this far into this book with a story that's currently going on?
Yeah.
Other than that fact that I forgot that, like, the 5th year is kind of important for students and That's when they take their owls and everything. It seemed out of place given the context of everything else, but
Sure, I can see that. But I mean, if this is just a normal school year and all this other stuff wasn't going on, it would seem more normal.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's just given the circumstances.
Yeah.
I mean, what always gets me is that the big years at Hogwarts are the 5th year and the 7th year.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's that weird 6th year in between. It's like, okay, you're prepping for the next big test, but still, it just, I don't know, feels weird.
Yeah. I remember my junior year being kind of a let's just hold out until senior year type of thing.
Well, like, didn't you take the like we would take like the PSATs 1 year before you take the SAT.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a year in between.
Yeah, I did my PSATs as a sophomore, and then a junior I took my SATs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I never took the SAT because I wasn't going to a coastal school, but that's a whole nother topic.
Sure. I took them because I thought I needed to.
Yeah, I took the ACT because that's what all my Midwestern schools look at.
Oh, interesting. I guess I never knew that.
Yeah, I don't know why that is, but yeah, it's very generally speaking, like the interior schools like the ACT and the coasts like the SAT.
Huh. Fascinating. You're almost implying that like the school system in America is a little disjointed and not exactly all on the same page, Matt.
Yeah, you could say that.
Our educational system is a mess. Yeah, so, okay. Career advice, something's gonna happen, whatever. It threw me off just because of everything that was going on. In my headspace, I couldn't wrap my thoughts around where this was going to be important given everything else that's going on. Whatever. It turned out to be far more important than I gave it credit for.
Yeah.
The first part of this chapter, I could sit here for an hour and talk about several different aspects of it, Matt. But I feel like I would just be doing it to kill time. Like, as badly as I want to talk about the existence of the Easter Bunny in the Wizarding World, I don't feel like that's necessary because many pages into this chapter just felt like fluff to me. It was more just scene building and world building and basically just introducing the fact that Harry was going to have a one-on-one meeting with McGonagall about potential future careers. And it just dragged on from the beginning. Like I was engaged. I liked what was going on. I liked him and Jenny talking. I liked Jenny being like way more grown up than I still give her credit for.
She's only a year behind them.
Yeah, but she's dropping some language that we don't hear from many other students at Hogwarts.
It's true, but like I also get the feeling in this chapter in particular, like Ginny, I think it's more of a rule breaker, more of a rebel than we give her credit for.
Oh yeah, totally.
Like she starts to lean more towards Fred and George than say Ron or Percy.
In my head, though, she's still little baby Jenny. I don't know why. I don't see her as being 14.
Don't you think that's why, maybe part of the reason why she's trying to break out of that mold, out of that stereotype? She doesn't want to be the baby.
Oh, sure.
So she's trying to, do things the older kids might do.
Yeah. Maybe it's just like I'm bringing in my own personal feelings. Like my youngest kid, my daughter, she's 8 now, and every time I see her, I'm like, stop growing up. Like you were just my, little baby just a few years ago. Stop being 8. Stop being this older person. And Val's youngest is only a couple months before that, and she's growing up too. And it's hard, even seeing them on a regular basis. It's still just crazy that like these are the youngest, these are the babies of the family. But you always hear that kids grow up so quick. Well, it's especially true when they're the last kids to be growing up. So I'm going through that, like, personally, and I think, like, I'm projecting that onto Jenny's character, and it's just like, wow, when did you get so old? When did this happen, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird. What I'm trying to say, Matt, is the beginning of this chapter, it was just a whole lot of nonsense. It was just a lot of talking for the sake of just filling dead air, it felt like.
Well, that gets into you always want to know what do they do when they're not in class? What do they do on their weekends? You want to see behind the scenes at Hogwarts? Well, here it is. It's not that exciting. This is why we don't talk about it all the time.
I want to go that route when I'm not already bored to my eyeballs in what's going on.
Okay.
You know, like,
yeah.
This book has just gone on long enough that I guess I'm just frustrated that we're still at this point where it feels like a slog to get to the heavy hitting portions of the chapter.
I guess it doesn't help that, this book is, I believe we determined this book is the longest book of all of them.
Yeah.
At least page-wise, so it's like, when you get to this stuff, it's like, couldn't you remove this?
Right. I would have been ecstatic by all this stuff if this was in, like, the first and second books. Because, like, that was the time when I was, like, needing more world building.
Maybe this bodes well for the movie for you. They'll cut all this stuff out.
All this stuff I'm going to forget about anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's just going to be the good stuff, right?
Yeah, hopefully. I've been disappointed before, Matt.
I know.
Don't set my hopes too high. So yeah, this was just, it was whatever. I could talk about it for the sake of talking about it, but I'm not going to because we have lots of things to cover this episode. Lots of big events that happened in between in these chapters that were kind of surrounded by all this fluff. So I would prefer just to move on to the big stuff.
Fair enough.
Okay. But there is one thing I need to clarify first and foremost. When did Sirius give Harry a knife that was capable of opening any lock ever?
Oh, leave it to JK to just slip that one in. But yeah, as he mentioned, it was Christmas before last. So it means it was Christmas during Goblet of Fire.
Okay.
So it wasn't even in this book. It was last book.
Yeah, I got that part.
But we also know it was before the second task of the Triwizard Tournament.
Right.
Because not only did that task take place in, like, February.
Right.
But when he was down in the lake and the people were all tied up, he wishes that he had the knife because the secondary purpose of the knife, it not only unlocks any lock, but it undoes knots.
But, like, there was an actual line in the book of Sirius giving him this knife.
Yeah. I don't have the book here with me, but well,
I mean, I believe you. And it was just kind of an afterthought at that point. Because he got so many gifts, like he always does.
Well,
was it just like rattled off as like all the gifts that he got?
I mean, he didn't have a reason to use it or anything right away. I mean, so like
did we even talk about it, or was it like that much of just a throw in? Did
we talk about it?
Yeah, you
Probably
and I.
Not.
Okay,
I'm guessing, but at the same time, it would have been one of those things that if you didn't talk about it, I wasn't gonna bring it up.
That's fair.
Because I mean, especially little things like that come back at a later time.
Yeah,
I kind of liked those to be a surprise. It's like, yep, that was in there. You remember this? And most of the time, of course, you don't. But, like that. Yeah. So I mean, it was definitely in there.
Okay. Before or after the Yule Ball?
That would be a good question. When did he get presents? It was probably at the same time as all the other presents. I'm trying to think now.
Okay. We spent too much time on the knife. I needed to confirm that it was something that was actually mentioned, which I assumed it was. Like that would be total against everything that JK does so well.
Okay, so yeah, it was just in the big list of Harry's other presents were much more satisfactory than Dobby's odd socks. That was the big thing that they talked about.
Right.
And then it's like the Dursleys, a single tissue was an all-time low.
Uh-huh.
Ton toffee. Hermione got him a book. Ron, a bulging bag of dunk bombs. Sirius, a handy penknife with attachments to unlock any lock and undo any knot. And Hagrid, a vast box of sweets. Like, yeah, literally stuffed in the middle of the list there.
Like, not even its own sentence. Okay.
No.
Okay.
It's... I mean...
I feel less guilty for not remembering that thing.
Yeah, like I said, the only time it comes up again is like he says for a fleeting second he thought of the knife Sirius had bought him for Christmas, locked in his trunk in the castle a quarter of a mile away. That was no use to him whatsoever when he was down in the lake. But yeah.
But still, I mean, at that point, even in my head, I'm thinking, okay, it's just a knife. So yeah, of course, like that'd be cool if he had a knife on him. But
that's true. They didn't reiterate what it did exactly.
Yeah.
At that point.
Okay.
So.
All right. I feel better about all that because I was like, whoa, wait a second. We could just introduce these magical items without any fanfare of sorts. I mean, she can. Yeah, she can do whatever she wants, but
she can. But she's better than that. Like, if she wants to use something, she will introduce it. Like, if she needs to, it'll just be earlier in that book. Right. She'll write it in somewhere. Right. But this one, it's like, it sounds like a cool thing. Who knows if she had a plan for it when she wrote it into the book?
Yeah, I'm sure she did. Okay, cool. I just needed to get that out of the way. So the first big thing that happens in this chapter is Harry goes to his one-on-one meeting with the house head of house.
Head of house, yes.
Head of house, okay. House leader was in my head, and I was like, that's not right. Which is Professor McGonagall.
Yes. They
are doing, all the fifth-year students have these one-on-one meetings with their head of house to discuss possible future careers. Basically, this is career day at Hogwarts.
Yes.
So, we're thinking, okay, this is going to be great. Of course, blindsided by the fact that none other than Dumbridge is also in the office because, of course, she is.
Which begs the question: why does she have to? Why does she? What possible reasoning could she give that she has to be there?
Harry Potter.
And honestly, I think it has to be Harry.
Yeah,
because there's no way she could attend every student's meeting.
Yeah, there's no way she's sitting in a Hufflepuff meeting with some ancillary character that is insignificant to the story in every which way or form, you know?
Yeah.
It's Harry Potter, and McGonagall, you know?
I mean, she disagrees with McGonagall, but I don't know that she really, is trying to get rid of McGonagall as much as...
Not get rid of, I just don't think she trusts her.
Dumbledore, necessarily.
She's so close to Dumbledore. You know, and she is, up until this point, she had a lot of power at Hogwarts, and
I mean, like I said, I don't think she really has to worry about her because she, Umbridge already outranks McGonagall.
Yeah, I think it's just a power move on her part, to remind McGonagall who's in charge, but also it's Harry Potter. Let's be real.
Yeah.
Dumbledore is trying to take Harry Potter down. So they're talking about what Harry wants to be when he grows up.
Yep.
Harry wants to be an Auror.
Yeah. Basically, ever since I believe it was Mad Eye.
The fake Mad Eye.
Yes. That's true. But
wasn't even the actual Mad Eye.
So yes, Barty Crouch Jr. suggested to him that he should be an the Death Eater suggested he should be an Auror.
Right, perspective, folks. Gotta have it.
I mean, hey, that might be even better. Better compliment than the good guy saying, "Hey, you should be one of us." It's like the bad guy is saying, "Hey, you would make a really good guy."
Unless they're trying to fill up the
make their job easier.
Yeah, fill up the side of the good guys with really incompetent people that have no right to having that job. At the same time,
as we find out here, McGonagall says like they don't take just anybody. Like they haven't taken anybody on in the past 3 years.
Yeah,
like you need to find some more talent there.
Which is probably Tonks, right? She's not that old.
She's probably, it's probably about that time.
Yeah. Anyway, so this is not surprising. Like that wasn't a big reveal at all. It's like, okay, cool. I could see Harry Potter doing something like that.
Yeah,
that makes sense in the scope of Harry Potter. So like, what Harry wants to be when he grows up was not really important to the story that was being told right here in McGonagall's office. That was just background noise.
Okay.
The important thing was McGonagall putting Dumbridge in her place in ways that made me so happy, Matt.
Oh, yeah. Just the way she does it, the way she words everything, like the moments she picks to just kind of ignore Umbridge and the moment she decides to over-explain things and say things sarcastic, like it's just perfect.
Yeah. Offering her a cough drop because she won't stop doing her stupid little cough.
And then I'm like, the second time she does, I'm like, are you sure you don't need a cough drop?
All the while, not even looking at her.
Yeah.
Just like talking into the air, knowing that she will hear her. Like, not even giving her the respect to look at her and ask her a question.
Yeah.
McGonagall was throwing so much shade. It was so good, Matt. I absolutely loved it. Umbridge tried to defend herself, and McGonagall just shut her down every turn that she took. She's like, nope. It was necessary.
Yeah.
Like I said, Umbridge came in there trying to make a power play, and McGonagall is not going to back down. This is still her school. Pretty much,
yeah. Yeah, it's her school, her students, and she's going to stand up for him.
Yep. So Umbridge is like telling, the main thing that came from it was Umbridge basically saying there's no way that Harry will ever be an Auror. He sucks at school, and the Department of Ministry will never let him be an Auror. And McGonagall's like, you know what? Cool. I'm going to train him. I'm going to be his life coach. We're going to work every single day and make sure that he is not only qualified, but overly qualified for this job to ensure that he gets to be what he wants to be. And that was so rad. That was completely awesome. And I don't know how much of it was because of how much she cares for Harry Potter, as much as it was she knows how important it is to kind of stick it to Umbridge, stick it to the Ministry.
I think half of it is, she just wants to oppose Umbridge.
Yeah.
And do all she can. Like, you said, she's just being... She just wants to be the opposite of Umbridge right now.
Yep.
As much as possible.
She's not the hero that Hogwarts deserves, but it's the hero that Hogwarts needs.
Sure.
Right now, at least. So I loved it. I loved everything about it. It was... We're getting into this running theme, which scares me a little bit. I will say I'm frightened by the fact that now this is the second big event now that Umbridge is kind of being turned on her head and her powers being questioned, and she's kind of being displayed as the paper champ, the fake headmistress that she is.
Sure.
worries me. I like it. I like seeing her put in her place and everybody kind of standing up to her. But it worries me that all of this is going to build up to something just nasty and awful.
Yeah, like you said, she gets put in her place, and you can see almost how little power she actually has.
Mm-hmm.
Like, every time something like this happens, she can never react instantly.
Yep.
Because she doesn't have enough power yet.
Right.
So she like scribbles furiously and making notes or writing her next decree or whatever. But she still has to go back to the ministry and get approval.
Right.
Every time. And it's like, okay, I'm having trouble with this. Now we need to give me this power. And then I'll come back tomorrow and say, all right, now I can do this.
Yeah.
And then she runs into another problem and just repeats it day after day.
Right.
But
because everybody's one step ahead of her at this point.
Yep.
But that worries me because all good villains always have like one last punch to throw before they go down.
Yeah, like this kind of reminds me a little bit of like Jafar in Aladdin.
Mm-hmm.
Like he eventually he just wants to be the supreme ruler of everything. Like that should fix it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. Is she gonna turn into a genie, Matt? Are you foreshadowing something here? Do genies exist in the wizarding world?
You never know.
Interesting. So it was good. I love the scene. Like I said, especially with what happens a little bit later. Dumbridge is taking her licks, but I just worry that she's going to come back ferociously and do whatever she's going to do. But we'll see. We'll deal with that. We'll cross that bridge when it comes to it.
That dumb bridge, yes.
That was completely unintentional, folks. I'm sorry for putting that in your head. Okay, so the next big thing.
Yes.
Harry Potter's going to be Harry Potter.
Of course he is. It's his story.
What I mean by that, Matt, is Harry Potter takes sometimes unnecessary risks, sometimes uncalculated risks, sometimes not very well thought out risks for the sake of just doing it.
Yep. And in this particular instance, it bothers me because like his motives are completely selfish.
Yeah.
Like he just wants to know more about his father to calm his own mind.
As if he's not going to see them in a couple months when school's over.
Yeah, there is no reason why he needs to know this now. Why he needs to talk to them now. That absolutely it has no bearing on what he's doing at school.
Mm-hmm.
Or anything to do with Umbridge or occlumency or anything like that.
Right.
Like, there is no logical reason why he needs to do this.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of why Hermione was more bent out of shape than usual. I mean, it's pretty par for the course that she's going to be worried and concerned and try to be like the logical thinker in the group for the dumb boys. But she was overly anxious about this particular thing,
Yeah.
Basically, the twins were going to create a distraction, a diversion, get Umbridge out of her office so that Harry could go break into her office and use the only fireplace that's not being monitored to use the Flu Network to get in touch with Sirius and ask him, hey, what's up with you and my dad being super bullies back in school?
Yeah. What's up with this thing that happened 15, 20 years ago?
Yeah.
No, you don't need to know that now.
And I put this in my notes, like, the risk-reward for this was so off as far as balance is concerned.
Yeah.
He gets caught, he's Dunsky, he's gone, he's out of there. Twins, they don't care. Harry, he never wants to leave Hogwarts if he could, make that happen. He doesn't want to get kicked out. He doesn't want to get expelled or worse. And all of this just so he could chat with Sirius for a little bit, about something, like you said, that is not for anybody other than his own well-being and kind of, calm his nerves a little bit.
Yeah, and what gets me even more is once he finally sticks his head into the fire,
mm-hmm.
and Sirius isn't immediately there, Lupin is.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, Lupin, talk some sense into him.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because in my mind at least, when Harry is like, oh, I have to explain now why I want to talk to Sirius, and he's just like, I fancy to chat with Sirius.
Yeah.
And like, when you say it out loud, it sounds really stupid.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to talk. Just felt like there's no problem or anything. Like, Lupin assumed that, but
right.
Harry didn't say that. If it was an emergency, Harry, I don't think he felt that rushed or anything. It's like, oh, I just fancy a chat.
Yeah, there was no sense of urgency.
Yeah.
And if it was an emergency, there was nothing that he wouldn't be able to tell Lupin.
Exactly. Like, why do you... Like, if I were Lupin, I think that would have been my first thought. It's like, wait, what can I help you with?
Right.
Like, sure, I'll go call him or call Creature to call him or something, but, what can I help you with? I'm here right now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not like he saw Mundungus sitting there at the table, and he's like, hey, go get Sirius. Whereas, clearly, if it was an emergency, he's not going to rely on Mundungus to help him out in any way, shape, or form. But Lupin? Yeah. Like,
exactly. Lupin, in any case, like we've always talked about him, like, he is the best defense teacher they've ever had.
mm-hmm. So,
like, I would trust him with anything. I think he's one of the Marauders. Mm-hmm. He knows all that stuff. Mm-hmm. I think he's a better wizard than Sirius in all likelihood.
Yeah.
So I mean, like,
he's not wanted by the Ministry for murder.
Yes.
Like, he has a lot of things going for him, The thing that was sad about this entire scenario, like, the more I think about it, the more upset I get, is how much of a secondary character Lupin has become in this story.
Yeah, you've talked about it a few times, yeah.
I have, and I was like, oh, cool, we're going to talk to Lupin for a little bit. It's like, no, he's just going to go get Sirius. He's going to
play messenger.
Yeah. And he chimes in during the conversation a little bit, but he was just there. And I was like, there was a time when Lupin was the man. Like, everything revolved around Lupin, and it was so great because he was so amazing. And now it's just like, he's just sitting at a table doing nothing, just hanging out, reading a newspaper probably.
Yep.
Fetching Sirius when somebody comes calling. It just bummed me out, Matt.
I mean, I've had those situations before where, like, I call someone's house and, like, the spouse picks up,
mm-hmm.
and, like, I haven't talked to them in a while either.
Right.
And it's like, oh, hi, how you doing? It's like, oh, I'm good, but I actually called to talk to your wife. It's like, I don't really want. I mean, I don't want to hurt your feelings or anything, but you're not the reason I called.
Right? Yeah. And that's where Lupin's at right now, and it bums me out. I in my heart of hearts, I know there's more to his story with everything that's going on. He's just kind of having to take a backseat to, Harry and Sirius's relationship that's still trying to bloom into what it should be as, godfather and godson. But it's just, I just like Lupin so much.
I know.
He's just there, So this whole conversation basically was Harry trying to get answers about what he saw in the Pensieve, with Snape's worst memory. He's trying to get some clarification about, hey, you guys were bullies to Snape, and that ain't cool. Like, you are not the people I thought you were. Like, I have different feelings about my dad now. Like, I'm so conflicted because I'm a dumb teenage boy and I don't know how to feel about anything. And it was, Harry needed it. I know he needed it, and I get that, but it still drives me crazy that he did this. huge risk just to have this talk.
Yeah.
But the best thing that came out of it was the reminder, like, it was fun seeing the two of them kind of reminisce about the good old days as being the Marauders and how much they enjoyed school and, thinking
they got nostalgic real quick.
Yeah, they're like, oh, was James playing with the Snitch? Because, man, that dude always played with Snitch, like, it was fun. I enjoyed it. I was smiling. But then there was that reminder when Harry was like, challenging him, like, whether or not James was a bully and, like, what was his intentions, and did he kind of lean towards, like, being kind of a bad guy, or what the deal was. And I think it was Lupin that actually said it, but he was like, James was always, from the start, against any sort of dark arts. And that's, unfortunately, what Snape was all about, from his childhood all the way up until that point. Like, he thrived and did everything that he could to surround himself with dark arts. And James, even though he was a bully and he did some dumb things as a kid, apparently, and was kind of a jerk to many different people, he was still kind of that white knight of sorts, like, he still was adamantly against dark arts, regardless of what dumb things he was doing as a kid.
Yep.
And that's what Harry needed to hear,
Yeah, I mean, it honestly, like we've kind of said in the past, like, he was the jock, right?
Yeah.
I mean, all they have is Quidditch, but he was a star Quidditch player.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, makes sense.
Yeah.
And it kind of plays into our email segment last week when we had Brent talking about being a bully. He was a football player, right?
Right.
Like, it just, that all kind of tied in. It's like, that's what we're seeing here with James. He was the cool kid. He was the star athlete that everybody wanted to be. But he had his flaws too.
Yeah. But yeah, Harry just needed to hear that, there wasn't any dark side to him that he wasn't aware of, because he's kind of feared that forever now. Like, when the Sorting Hat almost put him in Slytherin, he's like, whoa, what's up with that? Like, he, with his whole connection with Voldy and everything else, like, he worries, especially after seeing the whole bullying thing, that maybe his dad wasn't as good as he hoped he was or thought he was. So,
well, yeah, and then, because it doesn't help that he's always been getting this, you're so much like your father, right?
Yeah, exactly. He's like, I don't want to be that guy.
And it's like, wait a minute. I've always thought that was a compliment, but I like, is it?
Right. Wait a second.
What exactly are you trying to say?
Yeah. So it was good. It was needed. The best thing to come of it probably was Harry mentioning that Snape refused to teach him any more occlumency classes, which got the remaining Marauders up in arms about that. They're like,
huge red flags going everywhere.
And here's what I thought. Poor Harry. He's like, like, they're telling him, like, you have to tell Snape that you have to keep taking classes, and Harry's like, oh my god, this is the worst day ever. I know 100% it's to keep the secret away from us, the readers, so that we don't know more than Harry does, because we're trying to follow his story. But I just wish somebody would explain to Harry Potter exactly why learning occlumency is so freaking important. Other than you need to shut off your brain for Voldy, you don't want Voldy getting inside your head, blah, 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 blah. Like, there has yet to be that defining, this is what is going on, or this what will happen if you do not learn this type of talk with him. All he's been told is, you have to do it. You have to do it. It's important that you do it.
Well, I think part of it might actually be that the adults don't fully understand it yet.
I don't believe that for a second. I wholeheartedly feel like they know what's going on, and they just aren't telling him for what. And like I said, whatever reason they may come up with for not telling him, I 100% think it's so we, the readers, don't know ahead of schedule.
Sure.
But something is going on. There is more information below the surface level of this, and I just wish, for Harry's sake, that someone would just finally tell him why it's so important, because he's so stubborn when it comes to this. Like, he's being told that it's important, but he hasn't been shown or fully explained why it's important. So he's just like, whatever, I'm just going to keep having these weird dreams and try to figure out something inside my head for my own, sanity here.
Sure.
So I get it from the writing perspective, from the storytelling perspective. It's just frustrating because he's just continuously bombarded with, you have to do this because I said so, because it's important.
And that's about the worst thing you can do to a teenager.
Right, who's already kind of angsty and rebellious.
I mean, like we're talking about with Umbridge and the Quibbler.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, don't read the Quibbler. You're not allowed to read the Quibbler. What does everybody do? Read the Quibbler.
Exactly.
So, Harry, shut off your mind. Don't have these dreams. What is Harry going to want to do?
Well, I want to find out what's going on, so I'm going to keep having these dreams.
Yeah.
Yep. So, we're going to get some answers sooner or later. I was frustrated for Harry. Like, I was putting myself in his shoes. I'm like, man, I wouldn't listen to these people either at this point. Like, they're not giving me anything. Why should I listen to them? Other than the fact that they're all probably right, and I'm a dumb kid. Still. Okay, so he doesn't get caught, surprisingly.
Yeah, that's a first.
Like, this was setting up for that to be, well, this is where he gets caught again. Mm-hmm. Invisibility cloak saves the day once again. But here we go. We find out exactly what the distraction and diversion was that Fred and George created to keep Dumbridge and pretty much everybody else at Hogwarts focused on a particular thing.
Oh, yeah. Go big or go home. Or go big and then go home.
They created a swamp in a hallway.
They did. Portable swamp.
A portable swamp. And they got caught doing so. And they didn't care.
Nope.
They're like, perfect.
They want to sign their name on their work here.
Yeah. They are not hiding. Like, the fireworks, they didn't want to get caught quite yet, but this one, they're just like, no, we're proud of this one. Like
that was still, testing, market research type of thing. It's like, I want to see exactly how they react, exactly what people do to them. Yep. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I mean, if they got caught with the fireworks, they wouldn't have been able to pull out this stunt. And now everybody knows about this stunt, but they also now know that they were responsible for amazing fireworks. So it worked out well for them. Yeah.
And it kind of gets the feeling behind the scenes in the Fred and George series, like they hadn't quite signed the lease yet on their property, so they couldn't get caught just quite yet.
Yeah. But they did. They announced that they have a location on Diagon Alley.
Yep, 93 Diagon Alley.
Weasley's Wizard Wheezes.
Heard that name before.
What a fantastic name. That's super.
Yep.
And they basically go out in a blaze of glory. They say, we're done with school. We have a location. We're going to start a business. We don't need Hogwarts anymore. We don't need you, the worst lady in the world, telling us what to do. We love the school, but we are on to bigger and better things. We're out of here, suckers.
Yeah. And right then and there with that show they just put on.
Yeah.
They have an instant customer base.
Yep, absolutely.
Like, I mean, they've already obviously been selling stuff in school.
Right.
But, yeah, those kids will keep coming back. They'll tell their kids about it.
Did you ever see the movie Now You See Me? Now You See Me? About the magicians?
No.
A couple years ago, they made a sequel as well. Well, they do like this big giant heist and like steal a bunch of money and give it to like the audience, but like they became famous instantly and like, you know, disappeared into the cloak of darkness, and created an instant legacy immediately. And that's what I was thinking with this, was just like this was their grand finale, and poof, they're gone. They're out of here, and they don't care.
Yeah, makes sense.
They're excited. They called up their brooms. They busted out of Dumbridge's office. I would think that she would have chained him a little bit better, but
I think we've seen a number of times magic beats physical objects.
That's true. That's true. So the Weasleys, the twins, exited Hogwarts on brooms, off to go be entrepreneurs. Amazing.
Yeah.
What an end to a chapter.
Kids.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sad. I mean, this was their 7th year anyway, so they weren't going to be around at Hogwarts the next couple years. So they're by nature going to slip into that secondary role that we see so many characters do. But it just like, I'm just like, that was like the first time I realized, man, all the fun that we always have with them at Hogwarts, like, this is it. That's it. We're done.
Well, you know where to find them.
Thankfully they're not too far away. So that was chapter 29, Matt.
It was indeed.
Yep. Is the Muggle poll
Yes.
good for this one?
Yes.
Okay. Let's check out the Muggle poll, shall we?
Let's do it.
The Muggle poll is something that we do over on our Twitter account at Tales from GH. Matt puts it up about 4 p.m. Pacific time on the day that we record an episode. Lets you guys partake in discussion about a particular topic from the reading at hand. It's always fun. Sometimes the voting is super competitive, and sometimes it's very shocking and surprising. This week, Matt, what was the question that you posed to the audience?
I wanted to know simply, which Umbridge encounter did you enjoy more? Only 2 choices. The encounter we saw with McGonagall, where she put her in her place, or the one we just finished talking about, the great exit from Fred and George.
Let me say this, Matt. As much as I appreciated the McGonagall confrontation, ultimately it just didn't have quite the impact that her confrontation with the twins did. The lasting legacy that was left there with the portable swamp and the amazing exit far surpasses McGonagall just stepping up and putting Dumbridge in her place.
Yeah, especially as we find out in the next chapter that like they became instant legends, and that the swamp stayed there for who knows how long because Umbridge couldn't take care of it, Filch couldn't take care of it, and none of the other teachers, well, it wasn't in their scope of duty. So, yeah.
What did the listening audience say, though, Matt?
Well, once again, there's still a little bit of time left in the poll, so these numbers could change slightly, which could make a huge difference because it is neck and neck. We are sitting at a 51-49 split as I'm looking at it now.
Ooh.
Yeah. We have 51 for McGonagall.
Okay.
And 49% for Fred and George.
All right. I get it.
Yeah. That McGonagall scene, honestly, is a huge hit for a lot of people. I think many of them mentioned it in emails this week, but like,
I guess ultimately I was less surprised. Like, I was excited for it, don't get me wrong, but I was less surprised because we've seen McGonagall push back on Dumbridge several times already.
Yeah.
It wasn't like this was the first time she stood up to her. This was just possibly like the most aggressive she got with it, but it wasn't the first time. Whereas what happened with the twins was so unexpected. Like, we knew that they were going to do something crazy. We knew that they were already considering the fact that they would get caught and expelled at some point, but to go out like that without a care in the world was so much more epic than I ever anticipated it being. That's why I went that way.
Fair enough.
But I get it. I get why people liked seeing McGonagall just flat out put Umbridge in her place.
Oh yeah, and honestly, that's why it's the poll question this week. Like, I figured it would be close. I didn't think it would be that close, but honestly, I'm with you though. I went Fred and George route too.
That being said, let's move on to chapter 30.
All right. Chapter 30, Grawp.
Grawp. What a
Two
weird
new characters.
chapter title. Let me just say that.
Yeah, like, I mean, it doesn't seem weird to me at all. Now, of course, I couldn't tell you what I was thinking the first time I read through this, but yeah, just a random made up 5-letter word. Thanks, JK. I mean, honestly, that's basically what we find out it is. Like, Hagrid even says it's
just a sound.
It's kind of what it sounds like he says when I ask him what his name is. Yeah, it's Grawp.
What's the picture associated with the chapter?
With that chapter?
Uh-huh. Is it of the giant?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's his back from the backside, like when they were walking up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
He's quite hairy, actually.
So, you said 2 new characters.
Yep. One we've been talking about, of course, in the chapter title, Grawp. But then also we have Megorian.
Oh, okay. The centaur.
There you go.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah. We have previously met centaurs, but we met, well, Firenze, of course.
Mm-hmm.
He's come back already. We've met Bane, who they mentioned, and we met Ronan.
That was the other one. Okay.
Yeah. We have not yet met Megorian, who I think more than anything pretty much seems to be the leader if anyone allows them to be led, you know.
Sure.
Who knows if that's in their rules.
Yeah, he definitely is the alpha of the herd.
Yeah.
Okay. For some reason, I was thinking there was a Slytherin kid that was new.
No, I'm pretty sure we've met all of them before.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
I don't pay attention to him, so it's probably possible. Okay, so the chapter starts off. Yeah, twins are legends, obviously.
Yep.
And will be they'll be talking about that in Hogwarts for decades to come.
Yeah, depending how long that swamp stays there.
Yeah. Again, first part of the chapter, kind of boring. Like, there was a whole lot of unnecessary lead up to a whole bunch of unnecessary things. Couple quick points, talking points I want to hit on.
Yep.
Hairy snouted Niffler?
Yes.
What's a hairy snouted Niffler other than the obvious? I didn't know there were different species of Nifflers, Matt.
So, this is something that I don't know. I don't know. Like, since we didn't have Fantastic Beasts at this point.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And the only other mention we've had is when Hagrid had them in class.
Right.
So that's all we knew up to this point. And so this is JK maybe trying to expand on it a little bit, but like I don't know if it is actually a different species or I couldn't tell you really.
I mean, the Nifflers I know and love, Matt, do not have hairy snouts.
Yeah, they're more like duckbill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm absolutely fascinated by the fact that we have like multiple different species of the Niffler genome here.
Sure. Yeah, and it's entirely possible, but it's hard to say because we don't have a ton of information here.
That's true. Well, hopefully that's expanded on at some point. Peeves was pretty much given the keys to the castle as far as mischief and mayhem is concerned.
Well, yeah, and the biggest thing, like, Peeves, it seems like this is the first time we've seen him like take an order from someone.
Yeah.
Like, once again, it's something he likes doing, but that never really seemed to be his MO before.
Right.
Like, even if someone told him to do mischief, like, he's one of those guys you have to make him think it was his idea.
Yep.
You can't directly give him an order. But that's basically what we see Fred and George do. Like, he salutes them on the way out.
He's like, finally, somebody gets me.
Yeah. Like, I just think he had such a respect for the work they did while they were there.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, you know what, guys? I can do this for you. and like, he goes all out. It's like he feels he has to make up for Fred and George's absence. It's like, I have to do the work 3 people now.
And for all the years that he wasn't as active as he could have been. You know, because like nothing was actually stopping him at any point from terrorizing Hogwarts, other than possibly respect for Dumbledore.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like, the professors would occasionally do something. Like, we saw Lupin kind of undo his thing and throw it back in Peeves' direction.
Right.
So, I mean, like, but right now, as Hogwarts is right now, the professors aren't going to do anything.
Right.
They're not going to stop him. Like, we get to the point where McGonagall is helping him, and it's like, it unscrews the other way.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, like that's the biggest difference, I think, is that whether he realized it or not, the professors are actually on Peeves' side right now.
Right. It's nice to see, I'll tell you that much. So all of this was leading up to what I thought was going to be a solid Quidditch chapter, which was super confusing. Because I'm like, okay, I'm pretty sure we were done with Quidditch, but I guess we're not quite.
Well, Harry was done with Quidditch.
Yeah, which this is Harry's story, blah, 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 blah. Whatever. I wasn't expecting Quidditch to be brought up again.
Sure.
At least not like, let's go to a match and let's sit down and watch a match type of Quidditch. This was all pretty much just to showcase how sad Lee Jordan is that he just lost his two best friends.
Exactly. Like, oh, poor Lee. Like, you don't think about it until this point. It's like, oh, no, like, you were all, like, it was always Fred and George and their friend Lee. Mm-hmm. Like, like he was the third member of their trio.
Yeah. Well, he has a place to go after, the year is over, I suppose, but.
Yes, he has a job waiting for him.
Yep. It bugged me out. I'm like, oh, that poor guy. Like, I didn't even think about that until just now. So,
yep.
But this chapter was also, the Quidditch match was also to kind of indicate that everybody at Hogwarts is busy focusing on one thing, which would allow our rebellious youth to go on yet another dangerous adventure into the Forbidden Forest. With somebody who's in hot water as it is.
Yes.
Hagrid has a secret to tell.
Yeah. Find out he's basically just expecting to be sacked any day, and he's getting his affairs in order.
Yeah. So I was excited, but as we talked about, like, before we started recording, there was like 8 pages of them walking through the forest before anything really of note happened. Was there anything, though, that did happen in those 8 pages that I might have dozed off during?
Not really. Just kind of wondering where they're going, explaining how they kept getting caught in the forest, had to stop and untangle their robes, and then it's like, okay, Hagrid, can we turn on some lights? And it's like, sure, but okay, wait, now I'll tell you what's going on. We're in far enough. And then they kept walking some more. It's the way one of my friends always described Lord of the Rings to me. It's like they walk, sleep, eat, walk, sleep, fight, walk. Like the entire movie is just their journey to this place.
Yeah.
And so like 90% of it is walking.
I was hoping for a payoff, because I wasn't going to sit through all this nonsense and not have a good payoff at the end of this journey.
Well, hopefully you consider this a good payoff.
It was an amazing payoff, Matt, for a couple reasons.
Mm-hmm.
One, we got to meet a new giant.
Yep. I don't know if he's considered a magical creature or not, but I figured you'd enjoy him nonetheless.
Fascinated by all of the non-humans out there.
Perfect.
Secondly, this bodes well, possibly, for the future and the good guys. Hopefully. And lastly, Matt, it solidified me as the reigning and defending Muggle theory champion of the universe.
Good thing there's not too many of you around.
For those of you that may not have caught it, I believe I recorded it Thursday night, and then it was released to our patrons early on Friday, which was a new episode of my Muggle Theories series that I do, where I break down a wild and crazy theory that I have about a particular subject. This was the 8th in the series. And then this morning, the episode went up on the podcast feed for everybody else out there. Where basically I laid out my theory. People were asking for a few weeks now what I thought Hagrid was up to, what were the injuries coming from, and I laid out my Muggle theory as being basically, I thought he was hiding a giant out there in the forest. Now, I didn't necessarily 100% nail the fine details, like the big reveal that it was Hagrid's half-brother. But other than that, I feel like my Muggle theory was pretty solid, given what we learned in this chapter.
Yeah, that was about the only twist we had left.
Yeah.
Like, you pretty much nailed it. Other than specifying, which giant this was.
Right. Man, could you imagine if I had, pulled out that name, too? I'm like... His name is probably going to be the sound that he makes when he grunts.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a giant. Hagrid's been beat up by a giant since he's returned to Hogwarts. We kept talking about those injuries. He kept not wanting to talk about it. He finally revealed to Harry and Hermione that he has been harboring a giant here in the Forbidden Forest. Brought the giant back from his giant whispering adventure that he went on with Madame Maxime. And this giant, this 16-foot giant, is his half-brother.
Yep.
His mom, after she left his dad, went and found another partner, and they had this guy. This guy named Grawp.
For lack of a better name.
Who is also a runt, he's a giant runt?
Considered a runt
Right.
in the giant community. Yes.
Yeah. But that also meant that he was being bullied by the other giants, which Hagrid witnessed and basically couldn't allow to continue, and thought it was best that he brings him back with him.
So my biggest question about this is always, how did Hagrid gain the knowledge that this was his half-brother? Because I'm pretty sure Grawp didn't tell him.
Well, I mean, someone also had to tell him that his mom was dead.
Sure.
There was somebody that was able to communicate those kind of details.
Well, yeah. I mean, we did figure out that some of the giants could speak English fairly well, because they always had like a translator for the Gurg, the man in charge.
Right.
So, like, yes, there were giants that spoke English that could help them out, but just the odds of knowing. I mean, did Hagrid's mom talk about Hagrid, that they would even know that? Oh, yes, if you ever see this half giant called Hagrid, he's my son, and you can tell him that I have another son. Like,
well, I mean, Hagrid would have known his mom's name, right?
Yeah, I would hope so.
So when he was asking, in whatever manner he was asking about this, the name of this giant, I'm looking for her, somebody conveyed to him, she's dead, that's her son. You know, and maybe just by the power of deduction, he's like, she had another kid, I know it wasn't with my dad because my dad was with me for, you know,
and the fact that he's a full-blown giant.
Right. So, like, maybe by the power of deduction, like, knowing that the name of this giant is now dead, but that she also had the son, like, he's like, okay, well, then that must be my half-brother, then let's go from there.
Sure. It just still seems like an odd circumstance. Like, why would that even come up in conversation necessarily?
I mean, if you're looking for somebody, you know, and they didn't know who you were, but they're just like, no, she's dead, but that's her next of kin. You know? Are you looking for her for a particular reason? You know, what's your cause here? You know, point to somebody that would have known her, I guess. I don't know. I'm speaking for giants here. I don't know how well they're able to communicate that kind of thing. I don't know what the thought process would be behind them. But I see your point, but I think you're thinking about it in more complicated terms than it needs to be, because again, we are talking about giants. You know, you need to just break it down to the rudimentary, basic information that was available and go from there.
Yeah. Well, you see, and that's what I'm thinking. Like, if he asked about her mom, it's like, I would just expect them to say, no, I don't know her, or she's dead, and stop there. I'm not expecting them to give any more information than that because of their limited communication skills.
Maybe he asked specifically, did she have any other kids? You know,
that just seems like a stretch.
I know it's possible.
It's possible.
The fact that he got any information at all from these creatures is pretty much a stretch, I feel like.
Yeah.
Here we go. I mean, who knows? Maybe it's not even real. We don't know that. This is Hagrid's just believing that, I don't know, maybe this giant looked like his mom. Do they have distinct features like that? You know,
yeah, his mother's eyes.
Exactly. So basically, Hagrid just has a heart of gold. He's like, okay, I have a half-brother. He's a giant. He's 16 feet tall, but he's getting bullied. He's completely uncivilized. He's going to beat me up on a daily basis because he doesn't know any better. But you know what? I'm going to bring him back to the Force. I'm going to train him. I'm going to civilize him. And we're going to be as close as we possibly can, being stepbrothers of, you know, giant and half-giant.
Yep.
Hagrid is insane.
Pretty much.
But that's Hagrid. Like, that's why we love him, right? Because he knows the risks involved. He knows how dangerous this is in so many different ways, and he's still like, you know what? This is still important to me.
And that's fine. I can understand that. I can get behind that. That's great for Hagrid. But I still stand with Hermione. Why does he have to make life so difficult for us?
Because he's Hagrid. He would be a boring character if he didn't.
He can still be, the fun uncle that you go see, and he always has interesting creatures around, but it's when he's asking them to take care of them and dispose is a bad word, but they had to get rid of Norbert, and so that was part of their journey. Then it wasn't Hagrid that got rid of him because he wouldn't do it,
right?
But they took him up to the tower, and yeah, they always have to deal with his creatures. If they were just his creatures and he took care of them all the time, fine. That's what I like. I'm not a pet person.
Right.
If you have a dog, yeah, I'll still come visit you, but I'm not taking the dog home with me.
Yeah, I guess he's just spun from a different cloth, Matt.
Yeah.
But now we got a giant living in the forest, and he basically promised, or made Harry and Hermione promise, that if anything happens to him, God forbid he gets fired and forced to leave Hogwarts, which he knows is quite possible at this point, that somebody needs to take care of Grawp. Doesn't need to feed him, because he could do that by himself. Basically, he just wants somebody to go and hang out with him for an hour or two every week. Companionship. Try to teach him some English, talk to him, try to keep him calm and tame and work on this. I don't know what he's really looking for, other than he just doesn't want the giant, his half-brother, to just be left and forgotten about in the Forbidden Forest if anything were to happen to him.
Sure.
Asking a lot from these kids.
Definitely, especially since it's in the forest. That's one. Not only is it a giant, but it's in the forest, the Forbidden Forest, which we've talked about numerous times. They're not supposed to go there. It's like the only place that's always off limits. And yeah, they go in there a lot.
Yeah,
a lot. But they're usually accompanied by Hagrid, or someone else at least,
right? Some
other adult wizard. But now he's asking them specifically to go in there alone every week.
Yeah.
He even mentioned the invisibility cloak. He's like, use the cloak. Like, he's encouraging them to break the rules here.
Because it's important to him. I'm excited about all of this. I think it's fascinating. I don't know what that dynamics will be with the giant in the forest. Like, that's obviously not going to last forever. Something will disrupt that, I'm sure, because that's what's going to make a fun story.
You hope so.
I don't know how else to feel than I'm glad we finally know what's up with Hagrid, and it's completely insane, and that's completely what I expect of Hagrid at this point.
Sure.
I love how he nicknamed Hermione Hermie. I thought that was absolutely adorable.
Yeah, you have too many syllables in your name. I need to shorten that.
But I mean, he's Hagrid. He has a heart of gold, and I love him for it.
I honestly, when he shortens it to Hermie, it always reminds me of Crumb trying to say Hermione's name.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the end of it was them making their way back through the forest. They run into the centaurs. What's his name that you mentioned?
Gorian.
Yeah, the alpha. He's pretty upset at Hagrid. And Hagrid's like, I saved friends from getting killed by you guys, and basically they end their standing quote-unquote friendship with Hagrid at that point. Look, I don't know if there's a good way not to piss off the centaurs. You know?
Pretty much leave them alone.
Yeah. And Hagrid couldn't stand by and watch one of them get killed because he was doing Dumbledore a favor, so he stepped in and intervened and messed everything up, and they're just a grumpy bunch of things, of creatures, Matt.
Yep.
So I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens with them. They're there. They're in the forest. We'll revisit them, I'm sure.
It's always possible. They've come back a few times now.
Yeah.
At least one at a time, even.
Mm-hmm. So we'll see. They will play a bigger role in the story at some point, just not quite yet. They're just setting it up slowly. The end of the chapter, though, was the end of the Quidditch match.
Yes,
and
it was.
That song. The Weasley is Our King song. Except the words are slightly different this time, Matt.
Slightly.
And I picked up on it right away. I'm like, wait a second. I don't remember those being the lyrics.
and that's how it's supposed to go. Like, that's how Harry heard it, too. It's like, oh, no, they're singing that song again, so he doesn't really listen that closely.
Yeah.
But, no.
Different lyrics. This time it's not coming from the Slytherin folk. It's coming from the Gryffindor house in celebration because they won the match. It sounds like Ron had an amazing time as keeper. He was hoisting up the cup. Everything is right in the world at this point.
Yeah. Honestly, that song kind of took me back to last week's emails too. Again, we were talking about the cheesehead and how it was originally meant to be derogatory, but kind of flipped it on its head and said, "Hey, we'll use that.
Exactly.
We can use that."
And I appreciate it. Harry is like, "Man, we have some things to tell Ron," but he's like, "You know what? Nah." Let him have his night.
It can wait. Yeah.
Ron needs this. So, there we go. We ended both chapters on such a high note that I don't know what to do with myself, Matt.
Yeah.
There's no cliffhangers. There's nothing for me to be upset about or whiny about or depressed about. Both good, solid endings to these chapters. Couldn't ask for more. You have anything else to add?
No.
Perfect.
I'm just glad we got you back on track.
It's about time, right?
Yeah.
All it took was a hidden giant and a portable swamp.
Perfect.
Let's do some emails, Matt.
All right. Got plenty of those for you this week. So, we jump all the way back as people are getting good about this. I mean, almost a week old now. But first email comes from Emily.
Hi, Emily.
She is one of our fans that is still working on catching up.
Hurry up, Emily.
She's getting there. She says, today I've consumed 3 episodes.
Okay.
And I'm stopping by to drop you a line before continuing on to episode 42. I feel quite accomplished now, and I've fixed my Twitter problem and no longer tweeting to just myself. And I enjoy acting with you on there. She has 5 thoughts this week.
Okay.
1. Daylight savings time was brought up in one of your episodes and how much it messes with your schedule, both physically and time-wise. Alaskans hate daylight savings time. In the winter, the majority of your day is dark, and the summer is mostly light. There are parts of my state that have 24-hour periods of light and dark in their respective seasons. Mm-hmm. Because of how much light can vary throughout the year, it really does not affect how we live our lives according to the clock. So to change the clock to accommodate light is ridiculous. I would agree. By the time that daylight savings time comes, we have grown accustomed to the steady increase or decrease of light and how it affects our day. But then you go and throw us forward or backward by an hour, adding or subtracting almost 2 hours of daylight from our lives. And while I realize this podcast is not about daylight or governance of time, I personally agree that daylight savings time has seen its day and needs to go someplace else. End rant.
Sure.
2. Neville Longbottom is my favorite character. He always has been.
Wow.
In the beginning of the books, people teased me because I like such a boring and lame character. But when the books and movies concluded, I was accused of being a bandwagoner because of how much Neville evolves in the story. But I love that he's a caring and brave person. Well, what he could have been and the pressure put on him and what he becomes despite of it all. My nephew, Anthony, is 2.5. His favorite character is Hagrid. Well, he has seen the movies since the day after he was born. I doubt he understands them. As much as I and his mother would love to fill his ears with a Harry Potter story, we fear it's out of his grasp for a little bit longer. So, how does he know Hagrid? Hagrid and the trio are on the back of my phone case. And as soon as I come through the door, he's not just asking for hugs, but to see a picture of Hagrid. Mind you, Hagrid's name is a bit complex for a 2-year-old. So he calls him Hagrid and grins from ear to ear when I take my phone out of my pocket so he can see it.
I mean, to be fair, I mean that kind of goes in line with Hagrid's speech as it is.
That's also true.
Yeah.
I was just thinking of like Grawp.
Yeah.
Actually, and having to shorten it to Hermie, and
Mm-hmm.
she's really good timing these emails. He can also tell you where Harry or Airy, Ron or Juan, Hermione is just Miney, Crookshanks is Shanks, and Hedwig is Ewig.
Okay, sure.
They're all in the picture, which she actually gave me a second email because she forgot the picture in the first one, so I can send that over to you.
Okay.
So you know exactly what we're talking about with this phone case here. But get that on its way.
Oh, cool.
So number 3, I have always imagined or pictured Josh quite like Jacob the Nomad. So it makes me very happy that Josh enjoys Jacob. Matt, I haven't figured out who you remind me of yet, but I'm getting there. Soon, hopefully. 4, finally, we have met Val. And her chewing out her Atari Alex is slightly implying that she may be leaking information to Josh. Best part of my day. She's welcome back anytime, in my opinion. Her passion is addicting, and I feel we get along swimmingly. Number 5. The worst part of my day? Having to listen to Josh defend a woman named Rita Skeeter, and not being able to correct him no matter how much I yell at the podcast. Though I do applaud you, Josh, for standing up for your fellow journalists. But really, dude, of all the journalists to back, I hope you have realized the error of your ways now that you've learned more about that gnat.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, she'll be in for a nice surprise. Says, Matt, tough loss on Sunday. I hope next week's refs are a little less biased. I don't know if they were less biased, but at least we won. Anthony, I believe it's her boyfriend or somehow significant other, agreed it was a bad game. He took off his jersey and voluntarily took a nap before halftime. Wish I could have done the same.
Thank you.
All right. Next email comes from the other Katie.
Other Katie, hi.
Oh, okay. I see why there's 2. So this email she just wrote in right away, talking about last week. He had the big discussion about the prefix and docking points.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
You remember that?
Yep. Uh-huh.
Okay. So we actually had a few people writing about this. She was the first one, though. So she says, after Matt talked about how prefixes can take points from students but not other prefix, I did a bit of research. I went on the Harry Potter lexicon, and it turns out the passage was changed to correct the inconsistencies between books 2 and 5. I'm almost positive that my copy of Order of the Phoenix contains the original passage, but as I don't have my books out here in Hawaii with me, I don't know for sure. I'm making my little sister check for me. But the lexicon has to say, says prefix are allowed to take points for infractions, but not for fellow prefix. This makes Matt correct, but the site does have this note. In the original version of the Order of Phoenix, this who can take or give points was very confusing. It seems that the text that prefects were not allowed to take points, although Percy had clearly done so in Book 2. Rowling partially answered the question on her website, but it wasn't until the revision to the text in the summer of 2004 that the matter was resolved. Here are the original incorrect version and the updated. So the old version says, afraid I'm going to have to dock a few points from Gryffindor and Hufflepuff, he drawled. It's only teachers who can dock points from the houses Malfoy, said Ernie at once. Yeah, we're prefects too, remember? Snarled Ron. I know prefects can't dock points, Weasel King, sneered Malfoy. Crab and Goyle sniggered. But members of the Inquisitorial Squad, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And then in the new version, basically just changed. So yeah, you can't take points from fellow prefects, Malfoy, said Ernie at once. I know prefects can't dock points from each other, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. So they basically just changed. It's only teachers who can dock points to you can't take points from fellow prefects. So apparently I have the updated version.
Okay.
And we had a few other people send in some pictures even of different books that I'll post in the show notes if you want to check those out. But I think part of the difference might, I'm wondering, I know like the UK always got like book 1 before us. I don't know if that held true for the other books. I wouldn't think it would too much because like there'd be spoilers all over the place then.
Right.
And people would be ordering from the UK just to get it early.
Yeah.
But I'd have to check again. It says it was corrected in summer 2004. When did this book come out? Here, copyright date. Right? That should tell me things.
Should. You'd think so.
Yeah, so it has a copyright of 2003. Yeah, July of 2003. But this... Okay, the first Scholastic trade paperback printing, which is apparently what I have, was in September 2004. So that's why I have the corrected version.
Okay.
So there's like a year's worth of books out there that apparently have the incorrect version. Which, actually, I think this is my wife's copy. So... growing up, I think we just had like a family copy.
Sure.
And I don't know what happened to them. Maybe my brother has them or something. I wonder. I'll have to check on that. Now I'm going to have to ask him what his book says.
The research continues.
Yep. To see
deep in this hole.
In any case, it really confused me last week because my book said it was correct, but that's because I have a corrected version. But people have photographic evidence of other books saying other things, so...
Yeah, people also know how to use Photoshop, I'm just saying.
I know. It's not worth it.
No, I blame Matt for being wrong. Don't worry, folks.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
But thank you, Katie, for sending that in.
Definitely.
Along with everybody else who sent that in. Like I said, there will be other people, and we're probably just going to skip over that section in the emails then. Next email comes from Tonya.
What's up, Tonya?
It says, hey, this may be my first non-giveaway email to the show. I usually write things down on Post-its while I'm listening at work. However, I either lose the Post-its or my notes don't make sense by the time I get around to emailing. So I just go on being distracted by something else. I can't remember who it was that emailed in about the cheesehead last week. Possibly Kim. Yes, you're right. Mm-hmm. It's our fellow New Zealander who doesn't understand our sports.
Yeah, we don't understand our sports, so...
But I've attached a picture of my 4-year-old Lily in her cheesehead. She wears it around the house for the games, but I wouldn't let her take it to Lambeau because I didn't want to wind up carrying it.
Sure.
Also, she will be turning 5 on the 28th. We're taking a mini trip to the Dells. I already have a Sorcerer's Stone in our suitcase, and we've been waiting nearly 5 years for us to start reading Harry Potter together. I have a feeling she'll become just as obsessed with different magical animals as Josh has. It'll be interesting to see if we beat y'all to book 7.
The race is on.
Oh, yeah. Unfortunately, sorry, Josh, we are not speeding up.
I know.
But yeah, I can send you this picture of the cheese head.
Cool.
I'm assuming that'll go up on the site too. I'll double check with her. But
Sure. Nice. Very cute.
yeah,
That's a proud Packer fan right there.
absolutely, as we all are. Let's see. Next email. Well, next email is from Maria, but it looks like it's just about the prefix again. She's one of the ones that sent in pictures that'll probably be posted to the site. Cool. So,
thank you. For
yeah,
that.
yeah. She's like 4 versions of the 5 versions. It's like 5 versions of the book.
Sure.
All right.
Potter fans are crazy.
Yep, absolutely. So we'll get those comparisons out there for everybody to see.
Cool.
Next email from Edgar.
Hi, Edgar.
He is also still catching up. Says,
Okay.
I haven't gotten to the latest episode yet, but I just finished your birthday episode. I totally agree that Josh does have an accent, and Matt's accent is easier than Josh's. But I don't need to rewind to hear anything, though.
Okay.
So there you go.
Sure.
Another little more input.
I appreciate it.
Here, I believe Edgar was the one from India. Pretty sure. So that's good to know he can understand us.
Hey, yeah, definitely.
Wow. I didn't think I had this many about the prefix. There's another one. Thank you, Suzanne, for sending in pictures as well.
Absolutely. Did we call out for pictures? We probably did.
Not specifically pictures, I don't think, but I did want to know if people saw different, or if their book said something different than mine did.
Okay.
So, all right. Next email from Wade.
Hi, Wade.
I don't. Oh yeah. He also seems to be catching up. I don't think we've heard from him before.
Okay.
Says, hello, my name's Wade. I know I'm very far behind in the chapters, but I'd like to talk about Josh. I've resisted sending this email because I didn't want to be that guy with the recaps, but I've always believed Josh was placed in the wrong house. I think he should have been placed in Slytherin.
Oh, what?
Many times he showed characteristics of this house. Sacrificing Neville, his obsession with brain-eating bugs that horrifically killed spiders, his constant belittlement of Albus Dumbledore. There are many other reasons throughout the show, but I can't remember them all right now. I have always known in my heart that the Sorting Hat was wrong, until I just listened to Muggle Theories number 2, concerning Crookshanks. Wow, Crookshanks is a boggart. Long, dramatic sigh.
Has yet to be disproven, is all I'm saying.
He started to prove himself in Muggle Theories number 1, then this. I now completely understand and have regained faith in the Sorting Hat and why he was placed in Hufflepuff. And because you were willing to sacrifice poor Neville, next time you visit Florida, watch out for the spiny orb weavers.
That sounds horrible.
Well, we have a picture here for you.
Oh, goodness. Why?
Because people love sending pictures.
Sure, that's true. Also, I want to say, I never belittled Dumbledore. Oh, God, that's... Ugh. Ugh. Why? That's so unnecessary.
You see, if anything, I would say that is photoshopped.
Ugh. Ugh. Did that come from Australia?
He says they're down in Florida.
Ugh. If it was Australia, they'd be 10 times bigger. Just as ugly.
Yeah, and they could kill you by looking at you, I'm sure.
Ugh. Also, I never belittled Dumbledore. I just questioned him.
Well, yeah, you questioned him a lot, though.
Okay, I probably did. Early on, probably a little bit more so.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
He says, I love the show, Matt. I don't know how you do it. And through all this, love you too, Josh. And thank you for changing so many people's lives and bringing them together with Harry Potter.
Slytherin. Get out of here. Look, just because the Death Eater wand chose me doesn't... Look, not all Slytherin are Death Eaters. And I can't say for certain that all Death Eaters are Slytherin. So, if anything, I think I'm like borderline Ravenclaw.
I don't know about that.
Probably not. No.
I like you in Hufflepuff.
Yeah, it fits.
Yeah.
I just get really lucky at guesses sometimes. Dumb luck, Matt. Dumb luck.
Yes. Next email comes from Ryan.
Hi, Ryan.
It says, Dear Josh and Matt, as you can see this week, I've written in paragraphs.
Ooh.
He was our young listener who I kindly asked to use paragraphs.
Look at that. We are making the youth of America better by the podcast, Matt.
Yep. He did very well. I applaud you, Ryan. Poor Harry. His heroes were not very heroic. Ginny offers to help get Sirius, though, and one of her lines is my favorite in this book. And the thing about growing up with Fred and George is that you sort of start thinking anything's possible if you got enough nerve. Later, Fred and George prove that's true. But Snape is still horrible to Harry. We should have all his memories removed. Yeah. Well, no, I guess you can obliviate. That is removing someone else's memories. I was going to say, he can take his own memories out, but yeah. There is a way to do it. Never mind. McGonagall and Dumbridge's fight is the best. He has achieved high marks in Defense Against Dark Arts tests set by a competent teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably the best line in there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Fred and George's flight is amazing. A swamp in the corridor, as Ron would say. Bloody hell. Peeves is now a rebel. And Harry finally tells Hermione and Ron about the Triwizard Tournament winnings. And we didn't even talk about that. But...
yeah. Again, it was just... we all knew it. I just, I had forgotten that nobody else knew it, so this was the time to reveal all that, and it changes nothing in the end, other than Mrs. Weasley is going to have a fun talk with Harry at some point.
Yeah, I honestly, though, like, I think if he had told Ron anytime before this, the conversation wouldn't have gone so well. It was only because that meant that Mrs. Weasley wouldn't be going after Ron. That's why he was happy about it.
Yep. Again, this was a lot of win for Ron.
Yeah.
Ron has some solid chapters.
Good chapter for Ron, yeah.
Yep.
It says, and they finally won the Quidditch Cup. Amazing. Weasley is our king. Ron definitely is. So I guess the chapters turned out good. It was all a rebellion against Umbridge. I have an idea for Butterbeer Banter. What if for a chapter, I bet us fans could find a good one, you put Val on the podcast reading to Josh?
We've definitely talked about that, haven't we, before?
Yeah, we've talked about... well, yeah. Like, I don't think we've necessarily mentioned for Butterbeer Banter.
No, but just in
somehow
general.
getting Val on reading, yeah.
Yeah. It gets weird, we've tossed it around. We haven't come up with a solid way to do it that we think would be the best for everyone involved.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to be able to get, like, a live reaction or anything like that. But maybe, totally up to Val, but just throwing it out there. Maybe if, like, on the next movie episode or something, even... right. If she wanted to come on and just read one of her favorite excerpts with some of her voices or something.
Yeah.
So people could get an idea of what you get to hear every week.
Sure.
She doesn't have to read a whole chapter or anything like that. Just give the folks a sample.
I totally forgot until just now that she does an amazing Lee Jordan read also.
Really?
She speeds up her reading. So she sounds like she's giving the
like
play-by-play.
An announcer?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. That's awesome.
It's really good. Doesn't change the voice, just the speed of which she's reading.
Oh, yeah. Just stylistically, sure.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, makes sense. I like it. And he has a question for you, Josh.
Okay.
Who do you enjoy more, Dumbridge or the professor who shall not be named?
I mean, Dumbridge is the worst person ever in the history of ever. But I just can't stand the professor that shall not be named. I can't answer that one. I'm sorry. I refuse.
Oh, Josh.
Sorry. Not going to do it.
All right. Well, sorry, Ryan. Couldn't help you out there. But thank you for writing in. And thank you for using paragraphs.
Absolutely. Thank you for everything.
Next email comes from Lauren.
Hi, Lauren.
Says, hey, Josh and Matt, the past month and a half have been extremely busy, and therefore I've not had much time to email. To give you an idea why, I live in the Houston area, and Hurricane Harvey did severe damage to the school that I work at. We had to cancel school for 2 weeks and move everything out of the school to a temporary location.
That's not good.
Yeah. On top of that, while I was safe at my house, many of my students lost everything in this storm. The recovery process has taken up much of my free time, although I did still make it out to California to the Wizarding World and have been keeping up with the podcast and the readings. As normalcy is finally getting there, I could not resist emailing this week, especially after Josh's Muggle Theories episode. Congratulations, Josh, on your correct theory of Hagrid having a giant in the forest.
Da-da-da.
Although I hope you were still surprised to find out that he's Hagrid's half-brother. Were you?
I was, yeah. That was a big reveal. I hadn't even considered other family members, existing,
Yeah. I'm so glad that we're approaching the end of the book. So many of my favorite moments are coming, including my favorite book, Half-Blood Prince. The following list, as Josh always likes lists, are my favorite parts of this chapter. Hermione making study schedules for the trio. Ginny, I just love any time we see her in this book. Hermione being Hermione and Ron being a supportive friend. Career advice from McGonagall is great. She's so straightforward with Harry and does not sugarcoat the hard work it will take him to achieve his goal. McGonagall putting Dumbridge in her place. Harry's discussion with Sirius and Remus. Although what Harry witnessed is upsetting, remembering that not everyone is perfect is important, and Harry can still admire his father in spite of the poor decisions he made at the age of 15. Fred and George are amazing. Take that, Dumbridge. Peeves and the students taking mayhem so seriously. Harry is a good friend to Hagrid. Grawp is scary. Hope Hagrid doesn't leave. And Weasley is our king. Looking forward to hearing all y'all's thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Sorry about your school, though. That's really bummer.
Yeah. That and that's one that, like, personally, I didn't think about. Like, I didn't watch a lot of coverage, so I couldn't say if, like, the news mentioned it a lot. But you always hear about, people's houses and their possessions and stuff. But
right.
What about, all the businesses and schools and other public buildings that undoubtedly took some damage, too?
Yeah. Well, it's tough, because just as the news cycle was starting to catch up with, like, reporting on
what happened aftermath of Houston,
then Florida happened, and
exactly.
All the focus shifted there, and we haven't heard about Houston since then,
Pretty much, yeah.
So, unfortunately, that's the way the news cycle works, but, yeah, thank you for giving us an update, and keep us posted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next email then comes from Cindy.
Hi, Cindy.
She says, I really enjoyed the story about the teacher who decorated his room to look like Hogwarts. I thought the teacher looked like he could be a wizard. Maybe Newt Scamander's brother? What a wonderful way to make kids love to go to school. I always say that's half the battle. If you can make kids happy to go to school, then they will learn, especially with math. Which it depends on the kid a little bit.
Sure.
Math was always my favorite subject, partly because it came fairly naturally.
Because you're a Ravenclaw.
Also true. Also true. One of the emails he received after mentioning that it would be interesting to go back and see what your parents were like when they were younger, such as Harry did when he took a peek into Snape's memory. I actually had something like this happen to me recently. After my father died, I found a box full of letters he had written home to his parents when he was serving as a Marine during World War II in Iwo Jima. He had just turned 18. I had to wrap my head around his letters, as they were not from the man I knew as my father, but as a teenager who was struggling during a very difficult time in our country's history. Many of his letters were heartbreaking as they detailed his war experiences. My father very seldom talked about the war. Reading his letters explains so many things about him, though. I wish I could have found them before he died so I could have asked him questions, much like Harry wanted answers. But I am happy that at least I got to have a chance to have a better understanding of who he was as an adult.
That's cool.
Yeah. As for the email about how the person was a bully in high school and ruined classmates' only pair of pants, it was great that he recognized the pain he was causing and tried to make things right. It makes one wonder what Umbridge was like as a child. I'm sure she was a terrible bully and continues to be one as an adult, or maybe she was the one getting bullied, and now with her power, she has gone completely in the opposite direction and is trying to get even with all the things that happened to her growing up. I would say this is probably also the case with Snape. Unfortunately, Snape seems to direct most of his bullying towards Harry. With all the bullying going on in the books, makes you wonder if J.K. was trying to send out a message. Was she bullied as a child?
I don't know. Bullying has been a recurring theme, specifically in this book, but definitely throughout the story.
Yeah. It's a good question.
I mean, it started off like chapter 1 was Harry getting bullied by Dudley and his friends. Yep. I mean, that's how we started this book, was bullying. So
very much.
Yeah. Interesting.
Finally, we went to visit family in Switzerland a few years ago. My husband's cousin, York, took us to a reception at the Appenzell Cheese Factory.
Okay.
We realized that it was a reception honoring him because he was the Appenzell Cheese Club president. We told him he was the big cheese. Then when we got home, we ordered him a cheese head that looks like a big chunk of cheese. A big cheese for the big cheese.
Can we make this episode the last episode we talk about cheese heads? Like, no offense to you Packer fans out there. 1 week to talk about cheese heads.
Do you really not enjoy cheese that much, or cheese?
It's just silly, Matt. It's just silly.
All right.
Crazy Packer fans.
If anyone wants to talk about cheese or cheese heads, you can find me over on Twitter at As a Matter of Match.
I'm just kidding. If you guys
all
want
types
to keep
of
emailing
cheese,
about
cheese heads, Packers talk, I'm there for you 24/7. You got an outlet.
Yeah. Cheesehead Chatter with Matt Sonnenberg.
No, I'm gonna have to start more podcasts.
Yeah, you better register that quickly.
Yeah, good thing I don't release this for 2 days.
Yeah.
All right, next email comes in from Katie.
Hi, Katie.
It says, "Hey guys, for some reason my phone keeps crashing, so I'm gonna try and send this email quickly before it happens again. Please excuse any weird typos. Braille typos are usually weirder because strange things can happen during the translation to print. I can't even imagine. This email actually looks pretty good, so I don't know what kind of typos we get. I didn't get a chance to email last week, and I'm also not done with the episode, so I don't want to go over points probably already discussed. I've learned my lesson about that. Anyway, so much happens in these chapters. I love Annie, Ginny, and Harry interactions. I enjoyed this sort of friendship they're developing, and I really like how close she seems to be to Fred and George. I would totally read a version of the series from her perspective, as well as one from Hermione's. My phone crashed, but it saved this draft. That was nice of it. Continuing on. Is there really anything to say about Fred and George's grand exit other than about 15 exclamation marks? Nope, didn't think so. Moving on. I was very entertained by the Muggle Theories episode this week. If you haven't already addressed this in the episode, Josh, did it ever occur to you that the giant Hager brought back was a family member? I think we're safe to say no.
Yeah. Nope.
Also, I feel awful for Ron because his best friends missed his Quidditch victory. Not that they really had a choice. It was just bad timing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but he at least for the time being, he doesn't seem to be too fazed by it. Like, he saw them coming back, and, like, whether they successfully blended into the crowd or he just was too busy not noticing.
Right.
Yeah, he didn't seem to mind. So.
Yep.
Next email then comes from our headmistress, Mel B.
Hello once again, Mel B.
On time! And actually sent.
Woo!
The rage is real. Anyways, hi Josh and Matt. I'm upset that my email didn't make it through last week, so I was so eager to have that discussion. But hopefully you'll show me some grace and mercy and have read it already and respond to what I have to say. And Josh, I really look forward to when you are utterly spoiled so I can speak frankly to you about much of this book. There we go.
Yeah.
We will definitely be having you boys back on Witch Weekly.
I feel like a lot of people feel like that right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people are waiting for the end of Book 7, where we can just no holds barred. There's nothing to spoil anymore. We can show you everything. Yeah, just discuss things with you. Yeah. Anyway, but on to this week. Career advice. I think this scene with McGonagall and Umbridge is beloved by all. McGonagall is just so awesome. All defense against dark arts tests set by a competent teacher. McGonagall is just so full of sass and awesomeness. She can work at my Hogwarts whenever she likes. Didn't know there were multiple Hogwarts now. McGonagall just won't take Umbridge's attitude, and she certainly won't let Umbridge cause any harm to any of her students' futures. I love that she promises Harry that she will do whatever it takes to make sure Harry gets to achieve his dreams. Of course, part of this is just to annoy Umbridge. Now to talk about the Marauders some more. Seriously, I will talk for hours about them if you let me. Josh asks, did the bullying stop? Back in book 3, we learned that Snape almost died when Sirius pranked him by telling him to find Lupin on the night of the full moon. James ended up saving Snape before Lupin could eat him, but I'm guessing this prank occurred after Snape's worst memory, so I don't think the bullying stopped at that point.
Yeah. Not at that point, but, I mean, eventually?
Well, that's kind of what Sirius and Lupin were saying, though, because Harry asked, well, why did Lily go out with him if she hated the bullying so much? And they said James kind of kept her in the dark about it. Like, she didn't know that it continued.
And also, they didn't start dating until, like, the end of year 7, right?
Yeah, somewhere in the 7th year.
Yeah. After he became, like, level-headed and kind of understood who he was before wasn't that great of a person.
Well, I think they kind of said the bullying in general stopped, but not really with Snape.
Sure.
Like, Snape still got it.
Yeah, I guess so.
So it's just Lily didn't know about it at that point. So, it's hard to say. However, as Remus explains, James did calm down and mature. I doubt Sirius calmed down, but that's a whole different story. We have to remember that even though they were teenagers who knew exactly what they were doing, they are still kids. And young men are known for not making the best choices due to the chemical makeup of their brain. Someone last week wrote in about being a bully, and I think James and Sirius would have grown in a similar way, realizing that their bullying behavior was not cool or funny. It hurt people. I would agree. Back to lighter topics. Fred and George's Great Escape. It's so beautiful. They are so beautiful. They are amazing, and I love them so much. Their escape is such a great moment for them. They are just so done with Umbridge. They are done with school, and they are ready to make their mark on the world. And they will start with discounts to Hogwarts students who swear to do everything in their power to terrorize Umbridge. Those are my boys. And they have set the entire school against Umbridge. It's fantastic.
I can't imagine why Mel B would even continue reading. Like, that's like the climax of the story for her. You know,
Pretty much, yeah.
done. Out of here.
Fred and George.
Mhm.
Highlight, yep. Says, I'll give Josh kudos for guessing about Grawp. That was a pretty good prediction. And finally, Weasley's our king. He won the Gryffindor Quidditch Cup. Won Gryffindor the Quidditch Cup, yeah. Anyways, that was a long email. Until next time, Mel B.
Thanks, Mel B.
Next email then, the weekly email from the other Katie.
Other Katie. Hello again.
Says, aloha, Matt and Josh. First, I'm glad you enjoy the name I've been signing these emails with. I always laugh a little when I write it out, so I'm glad it gives you joy too. Second, my little sister has reported back, and turns out I do have the original version of Order of the Phoenix. I don't know if that passage about prefix. I didn't know that passage about prefix and points had been changed until my research after the last episode. So she's read both and didn't even notice the difference. There
Nice.
you go. Chapter 29. Hermione, as always, is the voice of reason. And Harry, as always, is choosing not to listen to her. Harry continues to show little regard for his personal safety. This time, he's too preoccupied with what he saw in Snape's memory. Well, I'll admit, I would want answers after seeing a memory like that. I really wish Harry would just wait for summer break to talk to Sirius. I think we're all on board with that.
Yep, definitely.
Harry thinking that James may have forced Lily into marrying him is like a little stab of sadness every time I read it. It's hard to have a perfect picture of your parents ruined. Book Ginny, as opposed to movie Ginny, is here again. I love that she is the one to get Harry to talk about his feelings and offer up a solution. My favorite part of these books is getting to learn about the wider wizarding world, so it makes sense that this chapter is one of my favorites. We get to learn about all the careers the students can have after graduation. This also leads to one of my favorite scenes for the entire series. McGonagall takes on Umbridge once again, and it's amazing. I have so much I could say about McGonagall in the scene, but I'll settle just for letting you all know that she's my hero. Even the presence of Umbridge isn't enough to ruin this scene. That scene wouldn't be there if Umbridge wasn't there, actually.
Well, I mean, it could have been just McGonagall and Harry talking.
Yeah, but
It would have been boring.
Yeah, what made the scene was the confrontation with Umbridge.
100%.
So, Harry finally talks to Sirius, but I'm not sure that the chat has helped him resolve his concerns with his father. But only time will tell, I suppose. As for Fred and George, "Give her hell, Peeves" is perhaps the best line in the whole book.
Yep.
Chapter 30. I usually have more thoughts about a chapter, but this one is overshadowed by the giant that Hagrid brought home. Good job for Josh on guessing this. But Hagrid didn't just bring home any giant. This is his baby half-brother. I have just a few things to say about what happens here. Harry and Hermione are such good people. They offer help to Hagrid even before they know what they're going to be doing. I'm not sure Hermione likes being called Hermy. Yeah, I'd say it's kind of forced on her. But in poor Ron, he finally plays well, and his best friends aren't there to see him.
He doesn't even care. He's on cloud 9.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's just happy he played well.
Yep.
Maybe that's a secret.
Plus, he doesn't know that they weren't there.
Yeah, they shouldn't watch him.
Yeah.
There you go. Fred and George weren't there. Harry and Hermione weren't there. Just let him play his game.
Yep.
Next email then from our other headmistress, Marissa.
Hi, Marissa. Marissa.
Says, hello, guys. A note from 2 episodes ago. Actually clarifies here. Back in the rumor requirement, Mel actually did tell me to include this as a correction. She had played her headmistress card, and I forgot to bring it up. So she's going to force it in here. So if you remember, this was back when we were you wanted Harry to have someone to talk to about his girl problems.
Right.
And you said Bill would have been the perfect one.
Yep.
And I told you he was off in Egypt, so that would be hard to do.
Yes.
So she wanted to clarify, Bill is not in Egypt. He's in London. He purposely took a desk job with the bank so he could work for the Order. That was way in the beginning of the book. And so, yeah, it's true. He's not in Egypt anymore, but he's also not at Hogwarts, so it's still tough to do.
Sure.
He's closer than Egypt, sure, but
Yes.
whatever.
Yeah. Not when you're stuck at Hogwarts. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're guarding all the fireplaces and owls.
Right.
Although, maybe they would let an owl through if he's just asking about girl problems. So, last episode you talked about Peeves. Josh mentioned that what they, Umbridge, basically do to him what can they do to him since he's already dead? She says Peeves is not a ghost, he's a poltergeist, which I know we've covered before, which is basically just a spirit of chaos. He was never alive, so he can't be dead. They could force him to leave the castle and haunt somewhere else, but that's about it. Something I thought of this week with the Fidelius charm on the Order of the Phoenix headquarters. Would Harry have actually been able to tell Umbridge where Sirius is? I mean, he's not the secret keeper for number 12, because we know that's Dumbledore.
Right.
So would he have been able to tell the address of where Sirius is, even under the influence of Veritas Serum? I'm very confused. I'm very confused on how the charm works. I mean, the members of the Order now know where it is, but are they not able to speak it? I can't recall if anyone has ever mentioned the number 12 after having it introduced to them. That's a valid question. I hadn't quite thought of it that way.
Yeah, that is interesting.
The fact that Dumbledore had to write the note to tell Harry where it was in the first place kind of makes me think that they couldn't. They wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, why wouldn't Moody have just told him where it was?
Sure.
Or Moody have written a note, or whatever you have to do. She was so specific that it had to come from Dumbledore, the secret keeper, to do it. So
that makes sense. Yeah.
I'm guessing there's enough protection that it wouldn't have worked. This is the first chapter is quite possibly my favorite chapter in the entire series. And it's because of three people. Firstly, my girl, McG. Her sass is not matched to this point in the series. Her calling Umbridge an incompetent teacher is such a burn, I actually laughed out loud the first time I read it. She is my hero. And of course, the twins. Their big departure and the final words of Peeves are the greatest things ever. The other stuff in this chapter kind of gets overshadowed, but let's see. Harry dwelling on what he saw in the bold memories. I can't blame the kid. I do think it's weird that he thinks his dad forced Lily to marry him. Do you think anyone could force the Lily we got a brief glimpse of to do anything? I don't think so.
Not a chance.
Yeah. The talk with Lupin and Sirius is not that reassuring. It doesn't make up for the fact that James was a bully. I know we don't see how it escalated to the scene, to that scene, but there's no excuse for that behavior. And saying that Snape was jealous, so what if he was? Say that they did dislike each other and Snape struck the very first time because he was jealous. What was James's reason? Only retaliation? I don't buy it. Explicitly from what we saw in this chapter of the memory. One more lesson like that, and I'm going to pull a Weasley. I've felt like that many times during my high school and college days. But I didn't have a broom to fly away on. Stupid Muggle technology.
I agree. Stupid
Yeah.
Muggles.
I love that Luna has an eagle hat as well as her lion one.
Mm-hmm.
Go Claws. Side note, my fantasy football team is named the Claws. All right.
Nice.
And here we go with Hagrid to the forest. Josh was right. I don't remember what I thought it was going to be the first time I read it, but I don't think I thought of a giant. For the record, I don't think I did either. And he's Hagrid's half-brother. And he's been trying to teach him English? I'm with Hermione. I don't believe him. And Gryffindor won the cup. Great way to end the chapter, JK.
Yep. Totally.
Next email comes in from Rihanna.
Hi, Rihanna.
She says, hey guys, remember when Umbridge told everyone that if they read the Quibbler, they will be expelled, and that led to way more people reading the Quibbler?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Something about the president tweeting about the NFL not taking a knee reminded me of that this weekend.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I
bit.
can see that. Onward. McGonagall versus Umbridge is always so great. I love how much she defends Harry's ability in defense against dark arts, and Umbridge seems to think Fudge is going to be the minister for the rest of Harry's life. Kind of ignorant, if you ask me. The twins went out in about as much style as Dumbledore did. If Dumbledore is just hanging out in his office, as I suggested last week, he must have been very proud. And Peeves is taking order from the twins is about the best thing ever. Hagrid has a baby brother. How great for him to find Grawp. We're almost to the finish line, and I can't wait.
Me neither. I'm excited. We're so close.
Yep.
We're getting all the fluff out of the way, hopefully, and
pure story after this, right?
Pure action.
Next email comes in from Jasmine, who signs her email as Jazzy.
Hi, Jazzy.
Pretty sure this is a new writer.
All right.
Because I don't remember that name. I was listening to episode 64, thinking it would be fun to email. And then when he made the comment that you have a lot of overachievers listening to the show, I decided I have to go for it. I'm another listener working towards finishing my master's degree.
Oh, you guys are incredible.
Yeah. Unfortunately, she failed me once again. I want to know what your master's degree is in.
That just gives them more reason to write in a second time, Matt.
Yeah. Well, now you have something to write in. I look forward to listening to the podcast while driving. The 2-chapter pace forces me to savor the reading rather than devouring an entire book at the expense of homework time. It's probably for the best. As part of trying to get my kids into reading the books, I threw my 11-year-old a Harry Potter birthday party, complete with Quidditch, potions class, and wand making. The kids had a great time.
I imagine so.
Yeah, that's quite the party. A few thoughts about these chapters. I love the line about Ron being shocked to discover that exams are only 6 weeks away. I hate to say it, but that happens far too frequently to me as well.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Only difference being that, like, Ron's 15, not going for his master's. And
I was going to say, you're going for your master's. You should have this routine down by now.
Yeah.
Previously, something was said about Fred and George causing as much trouble as Marauders. Harry is still coming to terms with one example of the mischief his father and his friends caused. I think J.K. makes an effort in the following chapters to highlight the differences between troublemakers. When the Marauders were causing trouble at the expense of a seemingly helpless Snape for entertainment, Fred and George channeled their mischief into making a future for themselves. Fred and George really shine in these chapters. Rowling highlights how they inspire other characters as demonstrated by Jenny's quote, "Everything's possible if you've got enough nerve." They have priorities, not causing trouble during the Easter holidays because it's pointless to interrupt their leisure time. Fred gives a nod to Hermione about not wanting to interrupt study time. I know they are not a thing outside of fanfic, but I would totally ship Fred and Hermione. Yeah, I've heard about that one a few times. Mm-hmm. They help Harry have his conversation with Sirius. So yeah, I would go on, but I would be late to class. Happy recording tonight.
Yeah, do not be late for class. Not on the account of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think the teacher would like that excuse.
I can't hold on to that guilt, so.
Yeah. But yeah, she's got a point that, their mischief is kind of... They have different purposes.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Or Fred and George actually have a purpose.
That's true, yeah.
There you go. Next email comes from Hannah.
Hi, Hannah.
I finally caught up.
About time.
I know my last email was way too long. Sorry, I got excited about Harry Potter, and your podcast is so very engaging. So I'll try to make this quicker. First, on the topic of Patronuses, which has been brought up recently. When I took the quiz on Pottermore, I was quite disappointed. I got a dragonfly.
A dragonfly. I don't see that being useful as a Patronus.
All right, we'll continue here.
Okay.
Really? A tiny flying bug? But then I read an article entitled, "What Does Your Patronus Say About Your Personality?" on MuggleNet.com. And my opinion changed slightly. It says the dragonfly is a messenger carrying with it messages from the past, far distances, and the spiritual realm. Dragonflies are representative of what it means to be light, reflective, and full of joy, in all senses of the words. Dragonfly medicine tends to be very emotional and passionate, often accompanying a great revelation or discovery of self. This Patronus may be tiny, but its spirit is enough to battle any Dementor. However, I still wasn't satisfied, so I was able to find a compilation of all the Pottermore Patronus quiz questions in one quiz online.
Okay.
And I got a Nebulung cat.
Okay.
I like this much better, as cats are smart, independent, sassy, and it will feel like McGonagall is defending me. But now I'm okay with the dragonfly too. And she included the link to the article she was reading. So I'll be sure to put that in the show notes so everybody else can check it out.
I just had to look up what a Nebulung cat is.
What'd you find?
They're the super gray cats with the really bright yellow eyes, usually longer fur.
I want to say I've looked that up before.
Yeah,
it sounds really familiar.
Yeah. Okay.
There you go.
Sure.
Second, on the discussion of prefects, I was always confused about the choice to make Ron the prefect, and I think Neville would have made an excellent prefect. In his first year at Hogwarts, he stands up to both enemies and friends. He consistently gets top marks in herbology, shows determination, and puts in effort to do things right, even if the right way is not the easy way. Ron, on the other hand, is not top of his class in any subject that we're aware of, doesn't seem to care that much about studying or school, and will much rather be breaking the rules and having fun than following them. Neville and Hermione would have made a good team as prefects, and Hermione would not have felt as though the burden of enforcing rules was all on her, as she seems to later in the book, as Ron complains about the prefect duties and ignores the rule breaking that's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see it, but at the same time, I kind of like how, especially after Snape's memory that we see, Ron kind of mirrors Lupin a little bit. He was the third member of the trio, well, one of the members of the trio, who was made prefect, kind of in the hopes of reining people in.
I just don't see Ron being that type, though. Like, if anything, Ron encourages Harry to get into the situations that he gets into.
I mean, but did Lupin do any better? Like we saw in the memory, he just kind of sat back and did nothing. And we know they were in the fifth year, too, so Lupin would have been a prefect then. And he saw the bullying going on and didn't do anything to stop it.
No, but Ron, I feel like, when it comes to Harry, when it comes to other people, he shuts down a little bit more, like when it came to his brothers or whatnot. But with Harry, like, he always has Harry's back, and whatever Harry's doing or wants to do, like, he seems to support him. And he shuts Hermione down from trying to stop them from doing it. Whereas Lupin, just seemed like he just actively sat back and just let it happen. You know?
Yeah, I can see that.
I see the point you're making. I think it's slightly different, but yeah.
Sure. Fair enough. She says, Snape's worst memory is truly heartbreaking. What I love about it, though, is how it demonstrates so well that no heroes are completely pure and no villains are totally evil. Except Umbridge. She is evil and the worst.
Yeah.
On to the current chapters. We learned that Harry could actually be good in potions if Snape wasn't horrible to him and just ignored him. It really says something about the teacher. The student learns better without their contribution into the lesson. It's also somewhat of a relief to hear that the relationship between Sirius James and Snape was mutually hate-filled. Snape took every opportunity to curse them, and they returned the favor. It doesn't make bullying okay at all, but it at least puts them on more equal ground in the long run. Fred and George are incredible. They are thoughtful and considerate, so they don't disturb any studying over break. But as soon as break is over, they're back with a vengeance. We'll miss them at Hogwarts, but their departure is incredible. The line, "Give her hell from us, Peeves," and then Peeves actually responding with a salute is amazing, and I love it. Umbridgitis. I think I have it, as I get nauseated whenever her name is mentioned. Josh, I think you have it too, and hopefully we'll have a cure soon.
We'll see.
And then we meet Grawp. First of all, credit where credit is due. Good job, Sir Josh. Once again, great prediction. But, oh, Hagrid. Poor Hagrid, so desperate for family and protective of all things. Of course he brought Grawp, his giant half-brother, back. But how in the world can he expect children to come into the Forbidden Forest to help him learn English? It's a dark, scary forest filled with terrifying creatures, and did I mention that it's forbidden? I know Hagrid is desperate, but does he really not have anyone else to ask for help than children? One of whom is Harry Potter, who is on Voldemort's most wanted list? Finally, I'm so happy for Ron. He deserves a win, literally. I just wish we could have seen this moment of joy instead of hearing about it secondhand. You guys are getting close to the end of the book. Keep up the awesome work.
Thank you so much. We will.
Glad you caught up. Next email comes from Caitlin.
Hi, Caitlin.
Says, "Dear Josh and Matt, I rewatched Order of the Phoenix last night, and I was so excited to listen to your movie episode. And then I remembered y'all haven't quite gotten there yet.
Not quite.
Apparently you're not following along with our readings. Needless to say, I'm really excited for Josh's thoughts on David Yates' first foray into the Harry Potter universe, and Matt's opinions on this book-to-movie translation. We still have a few chapters to go, though. Harry's obviously still wrangling with his troubled thoughts on his dad and Sirius. Luckily, Fred and George can help with that. Hopefully their swamp remains at Hogwarts. Certainly doesn't seem like old Toadface will be doing anything about it. Here's another chapter image you will want to take a look at, Josh.
Okay.
I don't remember what that one was now. Just got me curious. I don't always look at him anymore. Oh, okay. Yeah, you should just look at those on a regular basis when you're done reading, probably.
Yeah.
As long as you don't look ahead. Let's see what we got. Question. If Fred and George wanted to leave Hogwarts in a more normal fashion, say out the front door on 2 feet, would they only be allowed because they're of age? If someone who isn't of age wishes to leave, can they? Is it like dropping out of high school or college?
Just walk out. Honestly, when it was about to happen, I thought that they were going to apparate or try to apparate. And I was like maybe like once you apparate, like you're not allowed back at Hogwarts type of situation. Like you get a one-time usage. Or they're going to try.
No, you can't apparate in or out of.
I know.
Haven't you read?
But at this point, they are so good at developing like their magic. I was like, man, that would be just amazing. Like if they just apparated out of here.
Yeah.
Or they tried and it didn't work, and then the hammer came down on them. But
yeah,
that's definitely what I thought was about to happen.
I'm picturing is like they try to apparate and like they get up to the ceiling and then bounce down or something like that. Like Dumbledore, would have some like fun way of preventing it, some comical way of saying, nope, you can't do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I totally think they could just walk out.
Sure.
I think most students don't really have anywhere to go.
Yeah, it's just a long walk, probably.
Yeah, like you could maybe go to Hogsmeade, but then where do you go from? Like, I don't think any of the students live in Hogsmeade, so yeah, the train's not there to take them right now. Mm-hmm. I honestly most of the time everybody likes it at Hogwarts, so why are you gonna leave? Yeah, but yeah, I think you could.
Sure.
Wizarding careers seem much more interesting than their Muggle counterparts. I wonder if Harry will manage to become an Auror. With someone like McGonagall backing him, it seems very likely. Another question. What does a wizarding resume look like? Do they send their wand as a way to show what they've accomplished during their time at school? Or is it simply exam scores?
It seems like exam scores and, like, you know, whatever additional notes added by professors goes a long way.
Yeah, definitely seems to be a big part of it.
Yeah.
And well, I guess the owls are just the way to get into the newt level classes, but like it's not just the newts that matter; it's the owls too, because of that. Like there's prereqs.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
Bless her heart, Hogwarts has rallied and decided to fight off the horrible Toad. Can't wait to see what Peeves and the students will do next. Oh, Hagrid. It seems like Grawp might take after Hagrid with not knowing his own strength, and perhaps he will be able to fit into the Wizarding world. Here's hoping his English lessons succeed. That should help a 16-foot giant blend in better, right?
You would think. Maybe. No. Yeah.
You've always questioned how Hagrid blends in so well. Why no one questions him, so Grawp is definitely a bit bigger.
Yeah, and I don't think he has the swag to him to make people just kind of...
No one's gonna want to sit down and have a drink with Grawp.
No, I don't think
play
so.
Cards with him.
No, he's just gonna beat up a lot of people.
Yeah. Like he's the guy. If you bring him along like a bodyguard, like people will just get out of your way.
Yeah.
All right. Next email comes from Chelsea.
Hi, Chelsea.
Poor Harry. He's spending all his time overanalyzing the memories he saw of his parents. There's so many more options he could think of. Maybe his dad went through his bad phase, then realized it at some point it was wrong. Maybe Lily was the one to prove that being a bully isn't a cool thing. But Harry is a teenage boy whose mind isn't always rational. So it also doesn't help that he refuses to confide in his friends, who can pretty much talk him through anything. But I love Ginny. She's underestimated. And that's all I'm going to say about that. While reading the encounter between Dumbridge and McGonagall, my facial expressions went from raised eyebrows with frustration to a satisfying smile as McGonagall put Dumbridge in her place. I also have to say I was very proud of Harry in this moment. I'm not sure when I was 15 if I have been able to be quiet during that situation. It'd be like my advisor defending me to my principal, and I didn't like my principal very much, so it would have been very hard to keep my mouth shut. I was so happy when Harry was able to talk to Sirius and Lupin because they were able to give him some reassurance that his father wasn't an awful person. He just made some bad decisions. As it went on, I became more heartbroken as I read how Sirius and Lupin seemed to be nostalgic about James and the way he used to act. They were reflecting on some bad decisions, but on a time when they had their best friend and times were simpler. It kind of got like when your grandpa reflects on his long love life with your late grandma. Happy, but heartbreaking. It's one way to put it.
Yeah.
So Fred and George don't get expelled, but they do something they've probably been wanting to do since they took their owls. I love them and wanted to cry out of happiness knowing how much fun they'll have with their shop. I really hope someone was able to communicate to them how much their stunt influenced the other students, professors, and Peeves to carry out their troublemaking legacy. They may have more style than Dumbledore.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's a fair assumption.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it depends on your definition of style, but...
Yeah.
You know, yeah, totally.
They definitely went out in style.
Yeah.
I'll say that. Josh, we figured out why you're struggling to be interested in this book. You have umbragitis. Everybody loves that.
Yeah.
I listened to Josh's Muggle Theory today When I saw it was titled The Giant, I thought, you've got to be kidding me. Josh, you're getting suspiciously good at this. And I quite frankly taking the fun out of things.
Okay, honestly, what else was it going to be, folks? Like, he went and hung out with giants. We heard the story, and then he came back, you know?
I think you explained yourself very well in the episode.
I mean, I
where you were coming from, how you got to that space, like...
Rationally, there just wasn't anything else other than a dragon, which we've been... You know, which Hagrid's known to have.
Which you ruled out for specific reasons.
Other than that, it didn't make sense for them to introduce just a completely new thing just for the sake of this.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. I got lucky.
Hagrid finally captured the giant squid.
Do you need to capture it? Like, I just feel like it would willingly just follow Hagrid wherever he wanted to, you know?
He's keeping it in the forest.
Yeah, possibly.
All right, next email from Joe.
Hi, Joe.
Says, hey guys, I made a conscious effort to get me email in before the show started so I wouldn't be last. But before I begin discussing this week's chapters, I need to address a few things. I try to be mindful with my emails. I tried to be mindful with my emails in the past because they have been long. And you've been getting more emails recently, which I think is great. So I try not to make my emails super long, especially with details about me. I just try to stick to the chapters and didn't think you guys or the community would want to hear the details of my rehearsals and thought the word rehearsal would suffice. I was trying to keep my email as short as possible. However, since you asked, I will certainly share. The rehearsals are indeed theater-related. I'm part of a drama company on Long Island, and we do 3 productions a year. The productions are normally performed around Easter, Halloween, and Christmas seasons. So we just started rehearsals a few weeks ago for our upcoming show, Revelation, that we'll be performing at the end of October. I tend to get the roles of the bad guys. I guess I play them really well. Josh did mention that I'm also an independent professional wrestler, which is true. But Josh, we don't rehearse. We train. I'm actually also training for a show that'll be on at the end of October as well. But that's a bit off topic. Just wanted to clarify that for you guys.
Also, rehearsing in professional wrestling is not like in the literal sense of like rehearsing, like running through like a dry run of a match or anything like that. I meant it more of like going over pre-match, you know, the ebb and flow of how the match is supposed to go down, you know, a quick... Never mind. Look, I'll let
Josh,
you talk about...
Are you telling me wrestling isn't real?
Matt, I don't want to just crumble your world and anybody else's world out there that may be listening. So I'm not going to get into spoiler territory with that because you all have been very good to me, and I'm not going to fail you guys on that sense.
All right.
But there's this movie called The Wrestler, and I suggest maybe you watch it, and you might get a better understanding of what pro wrestling is actually like.
All right. Last week, you guys said you didn't want to sell coffee mugs due to your dislike of coffee, which is terrible. But perhaps you can put up in the store just as a cocoa mug. Just a suggestion. We've talked about.
Yeah, if it goes up on the store, it's 100% being labeled as a cocoa mug. Yeah.
Also, just wanted to say I very much appreciate Brent's openness and honesty about his bullying story last week, and it was very touching and encouraging to me. So thank you, Brent.
Yeah.
Now on to this week's chapters. Could it be that Ginny is becoming more and more like the twins? Maybe she's always been that way? I'm not sure, but I like it. First, Harry does some dumb things and looks at Snape's memory, and now, just a short time after that, he wants to do something dumber and break into Umbridge's office. Is he insane? I think so. Why does Umbridge feel the need to sit in on a career appointment? Of course, the Toad has to be there for Harry's meeting with that ridiculous cough. And she goes on to say that a student, in this case Harry, can't do something. Isn't that the opposite of what a teacher or administrator is supposed to do? I'm just so sick of her. I want her gone, and I want it to happen right now. Thank God McGonagall gave it right back to her.
Yeah, definitely.
Can we really trust that Umbridge was telling the truth when she said that her flu network wasn't being monitored? If she was lying, they're going to know exactly where Sirius is hiding out. I like that thought, but honestly, I don't think Umbridge is that bright.
Yes.
She's just too arrogant to try something like that. Like, she just wanted Harry to know that we're watching all of them except mine. Mine's safe. Mine's too good for that.
Right.
We don't need to watch mine. She wants her private conversations with, well, she probably on calls the minister, so. I feel a little better after hearing Lupin and Sirius talk about what happened, but they still shouldn't have done it. They didn't really justify it and took responsibility for it and say it was wrong. They seemed really upset to learn that Snape stopped giving Harry occlumency lessons, though. I know it's important not to give Voldemort away into your brain, but I didn't think it was that important for them to freak out about. What more can be said? Fred and George are my heroes. There was something very Dumbledore-esque about their departure. Hogwarts Legends? No better title than that. Maybe they'll be in a revised version of Hogwarts history.
Oh yeah, they're going to be on the cover of that textbook.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm a little sad knowing that they're not at school anymore, but I hope we continue to have a good dose of the Weasley twins in the future. I can totally envision a Niffler destroying Umbridge's office and then gnawing at her fingers. The general chaos that ensued after the Weasleys left is quite entertaining. Umbridge deserves every bit of it. I'm not sure what's more impressive, the lion's head on Luna's hat or the live eagle atop Luna's head. Either way, they're both awesome. The mystery finally revealed. Hagrid brought his brother home.
Do you think Luna has a badger also that she wears? Like, I can't imagine like she has a giant snake that she'd wear as a hat. But yeah. I could totally see her supporting Hufflepuff if it came down to it.
It's possible. It's possible. She seems kind of neutral in that respect.
I mean, does anybody not support Hufflepuff?
Slytherin.
Other than Slytherin. I mean, I'm trying not to categorize Slytherin as being like that, but you said it for me, so.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, I would guess she does. We just haven't seen her attending a Hufflepuff game yet.
Yeah.
The mystery finally revealed. Hagrid has brought his brother home, who just so happens to be a dangerous giant. Is he crazy?
Yes.
How can he expect Harry and Hermione to look after him that deep into the forest and with Centaurs looking to kill? That's way too much to put on Harry and Hermione's plate. I'm so happy Ron got his time to shine and be the star. However, I'm so upset that Harry and Hermione missed it. If I were Ron, I'd probably feel really bad that they weren't there. Once again, I don't think he knows they weren't there.
Yeah. Nope. And hopefully they don't tell him either. Well, I don't know. Like, they have to tell him about the Giants, but then that would also reveal that they weren't there to see his match.
Exactly.
Might be bummed about, but then, like you said, maybe them not watching him and putting the pressure on him made him play better, which in this case, maybe he'll be okay with them not what. Ron's a complicated fellow. This could go many different directions.
Yeah.
We'll see how it plays out.
Yeah. Then, final email from Atari Alex.
What's up, Alex?
Says, Dear Josh and Matt, I've been walking all day, hatching eggs in Pokemon Go, so I'm too exhausted to think of a clever intro for my email. Sorry. All right, first things first. If no one else has sent this to you already, here's the direct quote from my copy of the book about the prefix and house points. We already covered that, so we're going to skip that. Now for this week. This is it, Josh. These are the best chapters in the entire series. You may as well stop reading now because it only goes down from here. Hey, you asked when someone would tell you, like, it keeps getting better, Yep. Here you go. Okay, it's only down from here.
All right, 65 episodes. Thank you for everybody listening and supporting us. This is it. This is the end. Good night.
All right, Alex, I'll need you in here next Monday.
See, that's what he's trying to do. He's just trying to push me out.
Yes.
Alex, I'm on to you.
Honestly, though, I love these chapters so much. It reminds me of Home Alone with more wizardry. And I love me some Home Alone. I am right there with you, Alex.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I watch Home Alone and Home Alone 2 every Christmas. Not necessarily Christmas Day, just sometime during the season.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Holiday movies for sure.
Yep.
Have you seen 3?
I have not seen 3.
It's horrible.
It doesn't
exist.
it doesn't have the same people. I'm not going to watch that.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, these movies worked before. Let's make another one.
Uh-huh.
With updated technology.
But now our cast is way too old to be believable. So, yeah.
Goodness.
If anything, I wish that this book dedicated to guerrilla warfare against Headmistress Umbridge. Just take out all the BS about Harry and Cho and replace it with some insane magical hijinks and terrorism. It would make this book like 3 times better.
I agree.
But what we got is still super fun to read. The Weasley twins are the real heroes of this story. The conflict between McGonagall and Headmistress Umbridge is both uncomfortable and entertaining. It's like seeing a car wreck that you just can't look away from. Yeah. Finally, the last big reveal this week, we meet Grawp. All I can say is congrats on making that prediction, Josh. I don't know how you do it.
Power of deduction.
Pretty much. That's all we got, though.
That's it?
That's it.
Wow. I was hoping you were going to surprise me with somebody else that beat Alex into the last email spot, but I guess not.
No, Alex has reclaimed his spot for now.
All right.
Joe taking second to last, as he was trying to get it in early.
Yeah.
Actually, I mean, to be perfectly honest, his email did come in about 2 hours before Alex's, so he was in it pretty early.
Okay. Well, thank you to everybody, every single person that wrote in this week to emails. Those were amazing. They were fantastic. Can't thank you enough. Again, talesfromgodric's@gmail.com if you ever have an email. Thank you. Thank you to everybody for that segment. It always makes my day. I appreciate it. And thank you for all the showering of praise. And not snarky either. Like, everybody was actually genuine with it.
Yeah, they were pretty good about it today.
Yeah. You guys are the best. I love you guys. One last thing before we get out of here. We need to announce next week's giveaway. Matt, what are we going to be giving away next week?
Well, we have another big release that I'm sure many of you are aware of in the Harry Potter universe. The next book in the illustrated edition series is going to be released next week. So this is actually only book 3, since they're only coming out with 1 a year. But it's coming out next week, and we would like to give away a copy. So, Prisoner of Azkaban Illustrated Edition.
That's right. It looks awesome.
It does.
The night bus on the front.
Big, violently purple night bus.
It's fantastic. We have to come up with a way to people to enter this, Matt.
We do.
How did Prisoner of Azkaban start off?
How did it start
like,
off?
Basic premise of like the book. Like before we got to Hogwarts. What was like the main thing that happened?
Sirius Black escaped?
No. We didn't see that happen. We just knew about it. Where'd we spend most of the time?
I'm not entirely sure what you're getting at here.
Diagon Alley, Matt.
Okay. Harry stayed at Diagon Alley, yes.
Right. Leaky Cauldron, Diagon Alley.
The night bus took him to Diagon Alley, right. Sure. Yep.
Okay. We had another mention of Diagon Alley in this previous chapter with the Weasley twins setting up shop in Diagon Alley.
Yep.
I want the people to write in, talesfromgodric's@gmail.com, with what kind of store or marketplace or bodega or whatever you want to call it, pop-up shop, food cart, whatever, you would have at Diagon Alley.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, I mean, you got to think of like the shops that are already there currently. If you want to steal an idea that's at Hogsmeade and bring it over to Diagon Alley, go for it. You know, there's plenty of opportunities there. But don't set up like another wand shop at Diagon Alley. Like, that's ridiculous, But yeah, let us know what kind of shop, like how detailed and intricate you want to go. Have fun with it. But yeah, what kind of store or shop would you have at Diagon Alley? Send it in. Make it separate than your normal email, and you'll be entered to win that awesome illustrated book. So, simple as that, Matt. What do you think?
I like it.
Cool.
It's definitely different.
That's all we got for you this week, folks. I did this week what J.K. Rowling refuses to do in this book.
And what would that be, Josh?
We cut the fluff, Matt.
Uh-huh.
We went straight to the nitty-gritty, the important things this episode. J.K. has been unable to do that all book, so we did it for her tonight. Last week's episode, where we only had one chapter, is going to be longer than this episode, Matt. And that's because I didn't want to deal with it anymore. I'm done. I'm protesting JK's insistence on putting unnecessary things in the book just to make it longer.
But where would she drop magical penknife references?
I don't know. The Easter egg whole scene, that's never going to come back up. I can guarantee you that.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
All right.
Anyway, what I'm saying is this has been a fantastic show. Matt, thank you so much, as always. Next week, we're still on 2 chapters, correct?
Yes. Chapter 31, 32 for next week.
Okay, because I know there's a 3-chapter week coming up, so...
Yep. We'll let you know when we get there.
Okay. Just don't want to confuse anybody. Next week, 2 chapters, 31, 32.
2 chapters.
Order of the Phoenix, of course. Don't jump ahead. Like some of you already are. With all that being said, Matt, people could find me on Twitter at The Noise with a Y. You can follow the show on Twitter at Tales from GH. You can follow us on Instagram, Tales from Godric's Hollow. You can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/Tales from Godric's Hollow. You can go to the website, talesfromgodricshollow.com. If you put a /065, you will get the show notes for this episode. You'll see all the pictures and everything that we talked about. If you put a /shop in there, you'll head over to the store and see all the cool merch that we got going on. There's a sale on t-shirts, so check those out. And if you'd like to support us, like our 2 headmistresses and everybody else over there that is supporting us, we are dangerously close to being able to donate an entire set of books to a school, to a classroom. That is one of our goals that we set up on our Patreon, and we're pretty close to that. So if you'd like to check out what we're doing over there, Matt has it all set up pretty easily. It's patreon.com/Tales from Godric's Hollow. Help us give away sets of Harry Potter books to classrooms. Kids will enjoy it, I promise. I wish someone would have done that when I was a kid.
Yeah, that would have been nice. But
I mean, it wasn't.
Books, exactly. Yeah, these books weren't out until like I was in high school.
Shh, details, Matt. Details. Matt, where can the people find you at, my friend?
You can always find me personally on Twitter at As a Matter of Matt. Otherwise, all your emails, giveaways, book stuff, spoilers, whatever you want to talk about. talesfromgodricshollow@gmail.com.
Well, that's a great episode, folks. Because these 2 chapters were so fantastic and no cliffhangers, I got nothing to think about. I know everybody wants me to think about the dream, but I fall asleep when they talk about the dream. So don't look forward to another Muggle Theories this week. I can promise you that. But until next week, when we return with episode 66, chapters 31 and 32 of Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, Muggle out.
Mischief managed.